all you people, every one of you. Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, show 123. I'm a pissed off, no voice host, Gene Walzak. Haven't showered for days. Up to my upper left, I have Cottrell. To my upper right, I got Bill. You guys laugh all you want. I'm friggin' miserable. I'm miserable. I'm a miserable man. And, I'm sitting here with a raspy voice. I sound like a worst human being ever. I haven't shaved. I look terrible.
Facts.
We got a lot to get into. Going to talk about the Super Bowl. Going to talk about the hold heard around the world and the swimming pool that they played in that they call a football field. Talk about a lot tonight. And then we're going to get into some fun stuff like the NBA, our MLB pitchers list, UFC, which, by the way, they got wrong there too. Then they're going to talk about some turns, some spinny turns and shit. And then you got to be kidding me. We got a lot to get into, so let's get started. The Super Bowl is where we got to start. And before you put that god-awful picture up, do not put it up yet. Do not put it up yet. We witnessed one of the best Super Bowls you will ever watch in your entire life. It might have been the most entertaining Super Bowl ever. The Eagles get the ball first, drive down the field like a hot knife through butter. Mahomes answers. The Eagles answer. It was a back and forth game. Great football game. First half of the game, the Eagles looked like they had Kansas City on the ropes. They're up 10 points at halftime. And I'm thrilled with the way the first half goes. Thrilled. Rihanna comes out. Bitch better have my money. First song. None of us were right. That's okay. She announces she's pregnant. I'm going to be a father. You're welcome. And then halftime hits. All right, halftime's over. The second half, Jonathan Gannon's defense looked super loose. It was terrible. It was awful. We were beaten up. We were destroyed. But we had a shot. Because Jalen Hurts was unbelievable. And for all the doubters, and I was one before the season started, I came around quickly, right? I came around quickly. Some people didn't. Some people were saying he still wasn't a good quarterback, including one Robbie Gould. Robbie Gould, a kicker. If you make Jalen Hurts play quarterback, you'll be fine. You'll win. No, not at all, Robbie. We got to witness a very good Super Bowl. And before we get to the end of the game, I don't want to get into anything before 35-30, after 35-35. Cottrell, open us up. What did you think is the Super Bowl from an outsider's perspective? I keep saying outsider's perspective. Cottrell's one of us, but he's not an Eagles fan. He has no dog in a race.
Facts. So very, very true. I mean, like you said, it was definitely a great game. You kind of saw it early, like with the Eagles, like they were gonna strike, and they were gonna strike like normal for them. I will say, I thought, going in, I had the under on Miles Sanders' rush yards, and I didn't think that he was going to be a big part of that game. But it was kind of confusing how lack of a part that he played in that game. I understand that Gainwell had the momentum going in, and you had been playing Boston Scott throughout the entire playoffs, but I was surprised that Miles Sanders didn't get more touches just because of how successful the Eagles were in the rushing attack throughout the entire season, and even in the playoffs. With that said, though, Jalen Hurts, I think played, if it wasn't his best game, it was one of his best games he's ever played. Outside of that fumble, Jalen Hurts played damn good football. So the pass to Dallas Goedert was incredible to the sideline. He put it where Dallas could only get it, and it was incredible play. play to AJ Brown. Obviously, AJ made a great move on the ball, but just him trusting AJ to go up and make that play. And then the Eagles' offensive line was just incredible. It wasn't until late in the game that we saw a sack from either team, but the Eagles were lining up in that formation to do QB sneak, and it was like you knew what was coming, but there was no way for you to stop it. On the other side with the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes was doing Patrick Mahomes like things. There was a time right before half where he got tackled, and it wasn't a dirty play. I saw some people talking about it and talking about like the Eagles like wrapped his ankle. It wasn't a dirty play. It was just the kind of tackle you got to make from behind. But you had some worry there that Patrick might come out in the second half not being himself, but I'm assuming he got shot up because he looked just like Pat Mahomes in the second half as well. So great back and forth game. I was surprised the defense didn't play more of a factor either sides, and I know the field conditions play a big part in that as well. Pass rushers can't get upfield, things like that, but the offensive juggernauts that we saw in the regular season were the same ones that came out to play. So I couldn't ask for anything more up until this unspeakable play that we're not getting into quite yet.
Bill, before the play, give me your breakdown of the Super Bowl.
No, I mean, I kind of saw the game kind of like Cottrell did. I'm sure, kind of like you did. I was, to Cottrell's one point about Miles and even Gainwell, I was a little bit surprised, with the lack of run game. I mean, Jalen outrushed both of them. Obviously a bunch of those were, QB sneaks to get first downs. But I was surprised that, by all accounts, it seemed like their game plan was to show up and air the ball out. So, that was a little surprising, but effective. Like you said, they, opening drive went right down the field, put points on the board. Kansas City came back and answered, and Jalen went right back down the field again. I mean, it's, I feel for the kid because I think he played damn near a perfect game. I really do. His numbers would have looked even better if Quez Watkins brings in that dime that he throws to him. Down in the red zone, probably another touchdown or, at least more points on the board. He made one mistake. He fumbled the ball. It is a pivotal play in the game, and it did account, and help Kansas City win the game. I mean, if he doesn't fumble there, and even if we punt, I mean, it's a 3-possession game going into halftime rather than, a 2-possession game, a field goal and a touchdown game. So that did matter. But I mean, I don't think you can say that there was a better player on the field Sunday night than Jalen Hurts. I just don't, and that includes Patrick Mahomes. I think the kid played his ass off. I think the kid deserves everything, every pat on the back and, accolade and compliment you can give him. I think the defense played like crap in the second half. I don't, there was no adjustment made. Kansas City was obviously going to come out and try to do something different because for all intents and purposes, they only scored 7 points in the first half. Field was trash. I mean, we already touched on that. And I mean, if you go back and literally just watch Hassan Reddick or, even Chris Jones and Frank Clark on every play, every time they try to, speed rush and get upfield, they end up on their ass. That field was terrible. But we'll get into that more later. I think honest to God, the biggest thing in the game for me was Josh Gannon not adjusting in the second half. Kansas City came out with a completely different game plan in the second half and started moving the ball. And we started to look like Swiss cheese. Couldn't stop the run. They started throwing the ball at will. Special teams play was huge. The punt return, Kansas City got all the way down to 3. That was pretty much a free touchdown at that point for Mahomes. So, I mean, listen, there's 3 facets to a game. And, I mean, for all, I still really haven't wrapped my head around a lot of it. So, if I'm being completely honest, it's a lot. It's disappointing. I would still argue you to the death that we're the better football team. I just think certain 1 or 2 plays when you have 2 evenly matched teams like that, 1 or 2 plays a game can change the outcome. And I don't know if there's a better example of it than this past Super Bowl.
All right. Well, I got a lot to say. First of all, I watched that game from start to finish 3 times at this point. Watched it opening night when it happened. I watched it later on that night on NFL Network. And I watched it again Tuesday morning on All 22. By the way, I just want to comment on this first. This is inaccurate. It's from a different angle. They didn't grab Hurts' face mask. It looks that way from the picture angle, and then you see the full angle, and he didn't grab it. I'm not making that excuse. I think there was some calls that could have went either way from the beginning for both teams. Let me just be clear there. I think that game could have went either way the whole way through. One of the biggest gripes I had was the Devontae Smith catch that was overruled into a non-catch. I don't know how you overrule that. I don't know how you take that catch off the board. At worst, I thought it was a stance, if not confirmed. It was overturned. I don't understand that, but I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. I understand they see the ball hit the ground. It's subjective. Fine. Going to lead into the third quarter. Another comment I want to talk about. Yes, both teams had to play on that same football field. But no team was affected more than the Philadelphia Eagles pass rush. Their pass rush relies on getting off and speed rushing and getting around the outside quick, and playing on that field really hurt them, in my personal opinion. That's to you, John. Second, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, and I'm going to get in Eric Bieniemy in a second, outclassed Jonathan Gannon in the second half of that game. Outclassed him. Patrick Mahomes is a magician, right? Did you hear the play where he yells out cover zero? He yells cover zero, and it was right before the Sky Moore touchdown, where they ran the same play essentially. Guys, I don't know how to put this, but Jonathan Gannon has a system, and he used it all year. And when a player's in motion, when he's running cover zero, they pass off the player. You've seen it on the Kadarius Toney touchdown. Darius Slay did this. That means pass off. He takes Kelsey. The guy has Kelsey, takes the next guy over, and they all slide down the line. But what that doesn't work against is fake motion, which the Chiefs ran brilliantly twice. After the first time that happens, you probably should run cover zero in the red zone again. Because when motion hits, the Philadelphia Eagles are trained and taught to do the same thing. Pass off. So they just ran it on the other side with Sky Moore and scored 2 touchdowns that way. Next thing, and that's the Eagles' fault. Let me just be clear. Jalen Hurts dropping the ball, Eagles' fault. We allowed them to be in the position to beat us by 1 call, but we're not there yet. The punt. Aaron Sipas gets off the friggin' PUP list. He's been injured for 5 weeks. Brett Kern was our punter since Dallas. He's punting in the Super Bowl. Low line drive to Kadarius Toney. That was a touchdown. That's our fault. Here we go. About to get into the call. You want to put it up there? 3rd and 8. Now, I like how Cottrell finds the most egregious picture of this, but that's okay. 3rd and 8. They're at the Eagles' 15 or 16-yard line. Juju runs an in and up. Like basically he runs an in and then he circles back out to an up. It's basically like a sluggo, but there is no slant. It's just basically an in and out route. Bradbury definitely gets an arm on him. I know you know this answer because I talked to you about this already. Shelly, I'm going to ask you a question real quick. Do you know how many holds were called in that entire game? How many do you think were called?
Not a lot, because I mean it was pretty much minus a couple like offsides and stupid stuff. They didn't really throw the flag that much in the game.
Just take a guess. How many holding calls were called in the entire Super Bowl?
Like one, maybe two.
You're right. There was one. This was the hold that they called. The only holding call in the entire game. Did Bradbury hold Juju Smith-Schuster in the beginning of the second quarter, early first quarter? Yes, he did. Did you see how animated Juju was on that play? He was throwing a temper tantrum. If you cycle this play through, you will see Juju Smith-Schuster with zero animation. He does not care. He did not think it was a penalty himself. He was not calling for a flag. It was just Mahomes. Second, do you know what referee called this flag, Shally?
I believe it was the field judge.
No, it was the back judge.
Back judge, and it was
The
one
back
of them.
judge called this flag. How in the hell is the guy in the back of the end zone calling this holding call instead the guy that's on the line of scrimmage right in front of it? How? How in the world? I want to be clear when I say this. I don't know if the Philadelphia Eagles would have won the game. I am not saying this is the reason the Eagles lost the game. I commend Nick Sirianni and the leadership in that locker room. Not one of them came out and made an excuse. Not one of them came out and blamed the officials. That's leadership. It's a big difference between that locker room and San Francisco's. But I will. I'm not saying the Eagles would have won that football game, but I felt like I just read the best book in the entire world, and someone ripped the last two pages out. Because on 3rd and 8, Harrison Buckner kicks the field goal, makes it 38 or 4th and 8. Harrison Buckner kicks the field goal, makes it 38-35. And with a minute 35 and one timeout left, Jalen Hurts gets the ball back. Does he tie it? Does he win it? Does it go to overtime? Do I get to watch Mahomes and Hurts with one last drive for the Super Bowl on the line? No, I don't. I got a BS holding call. The only holding call that happened in the entire game. Players ask for one thing, and that's consistency. If you're going to call it like that, then call it like that all game. Because if you did, the players know to get less handsy. But when you're letting them play, and let me be clear, this isn't the only play where there was holding. If you want to rewind the entire play, which we can't do right now, you'll see that Josh Sweat was being held on the outside getting after Mahomes. He had the Kansas City defender had his arm, Orlando Brown, had his arm around his neck as he was rushing the quarterback. He was being held. It's frustrating to say the least, that a Super Bowl so great could just be ended. Did the Philadelphia Eagles do everything they needed to do to win the game? Absolutely not. Quez Watkins should have came down with the ball. Obviously. Special teams was brutal. Yes. But were we robbed out of a historic ending to a Super Bowl? Yes, we were. And for those that will get on here or comment or text that Bradbury admitted to holding, apparently you didn't listen to the entire interview. And I'd advise you to listen to the interview. Yes, he said he held. He's not lying. There's holding in almost every play in the NFL. This shouldn't have been called. There was an outroar of people that have commented, that have tweeted, that have posted. An outroar. Uproar, sorry. Thank you for correcting me. It's embarrassing for the NFL. Didn't need to be this way. Doesn't need to be about the officials. Bill Cottrell.
I tend to, not to be a homer, but I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think it just goes back to. I mean, I can't, I can't tell you the numerous times we've talked about officiating on the show for this past season, or even used it for "You got to be kidding me" or something like that. Um, in a weird way, this is a fitting finale to the season for the NFL and the way they officiated games. By the letter of the law as a whole, yes. Um, to Gene's other point, though, if you haven't called it all night, you can't tell me if I go back and rewatch that game for a third time and do nothing but watch the line of scrimmages, and I'm not going to find a ton of holds on both teams, especially with field conditions like that. They didn't call anything all night, and you call this. To make matters worse with the flag, if you watch it, he literally doesn't throw the flag until the ball hits the ground, which shouldn't be the case. That would only be the case if you're going to call pass interference. But with holding, it doesn't matter if the ball's catchable or not. It's just it's a lot for me. It's a lot for me just to accept at face value, and not have other kind of thoughts to it. My biggest gripe is Gene's biggest gripe. I'm not saying we get the ball back with a minute and a half and we go down and even tie the game. We could fumble the ball, we could throw an interception, a wide receiver could fumble the ball, we could go 4 and out. Any of those things could happen. But it also could be a tie game. We could also go down and score, win the game. Or you could have, like Gene said, you could have these two teams go to overtime, and then it's automatically the best Super Bowl that's ever been played. And then at that point, I don't think it's even a conversation anymore. One team was going to lose this game one way or the other, which to some degree, it kind of reminds me of the Kansas City Buffalo game last year. Both teams played good enough to win, and it was a great game to watch. And unfortunately, somebody's got to lose and somebody goes on. It sucks. It's for the Eagles. It hurts, and we went so long with not having a championship, and all of a sudden we have a chance to win two in a 5-year span. And typical Philly fashion, it feels like we kind of got screwed or cheated out of it. So it's going to sting for a while. I really would have loved to see them win, and I know Kelsey hasn't decided what he's doing yet, but I think that would have really been a great way to send Kelsey and Cox and even Miles and some of these other guys that are not going to be on this football team next year. So,
Brandon
Graham's another one. It hurts, man. It's kind of like Gene said in his opening. I really haven't fully let it kind of sink in and really dwelled on it, or I just hasn't been a good week. That's all I can say. It was a gut punch for sure.
Control.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, I agree that we got robbed of an all-time great ending for what it could have been, regardless of what the outcome would have been. Because I mean, even if it goes to fourth down, I think we can all agree we think Butker's making that kick, for it to go up 38-35. And regardless if Jalen goes down, scores a field goal, touchdown, turns the ball over, whatever, this is one of those all-time great games. Like you said, Bill, this was one of those games where neither team deserved to lose. I mean, I think both teams did enough to win this game. Every time that the Chiefs, it seemed like, gained some momentum, like they caught that Sky Moore touchdown. Eagles went right back down the field, scored a touchdown, and then that even the 2-point conversion, like Jalen Hurts, as tough as a play that was, it seemed like he was stopped, but Jalen Hurts found a way to get into the end zone. It just played an incredible game. I also agree with the point, by letter of the law, yes, this is holding. My problem with it is there is absolutely no way you call this in the fourth quarter of a football game. If you call this in the first quarter, cool, no problem. I think it's somewhat of a weak call, but I get it. Letter of the law, it is what it is. You call this in the fourth quarter of a game where you know what's at stake. Like, I know officials they say they don't want to buy into the circumstances around the game, it being that late in the game and things like that, but what's at stake here. You let go of the egregious hold that we were talking about earlier in the first half, with Bradbury on Juju. As a player, you know what officials will let you get away with and not let you get away with. If he got away with that in the first half, he knows, like, hey, in the second half, what he did here, he would think, like, there is no doubt in my mind that I could get this slight, very slight grab at the line of scrimmage. It's not even like he's off in his route yet. Like, there's no way he was thinking that they're going to call a penalty on this play here, given all of them circumstances, given how they've let me be physical this whole entire game. So it's crazy because literally just last week I got on Goodell for the whole, I think the officials were in the best place ever with officials. And then this happens the following week. Like, it's crazy. I couldn't fathom this being the reason why you don't even have the opportunity to tie a Super Bowl or potentially win a Super Bowl. But letter of the law, yes, I think it's holding. I think it is a crime against humanity to call that in the fourth quarter.
RJ sums it up perfectly for me. If there was 6 or 7 holding calls early in the game, or like Charles said, they called the one in the first quarter, I'm not as mad about this. But if you swallowed your whistle all night and not thrown a flag for all the holdings on the interior line and things of that nature, there is no way that this was egregious enough for you to pick up your flag and throw it and say, this is the first time I'm going to call it tonight. There's no way.
Right.
There's like none. There's no way. There's no way that, and at a back judge, like Gene said, there's no way at the back of the end you go, oh, damn, I got to call that one. That one was really bad. And throw your flag after the freaking ball hits the ground. There's no way.
The flag was thrown. All right, so the ball landed before the flag landed. The flag was thrown when the ball was still kind of in the air. But you're right, Bill. The flag landed after the ball, and that shouldn't happen.
If you're calling, like I said, if you're throwing it late like that, it's usually because it's pass interference, because the ball still has to be catchable, because that is a part of being able to call pass interference. If you're calling holding and you're the back judge and you saw it and it was that egregious that you were going to call it right away, you saw that happened, like Gene said, it happened the first second of the route. That should have been called. We should know before the ball even landed that there was a flag. Like that's all, man. That's why it all stinks to me.
Yeah,
it all stinks to me, and I hate conspiracy theories, and I hate all that crap. I don't like getting into them. I don't like believing in them, and I don't like giving them legs or whatever. But the whole thing just sucks, man. Whole thing stinks to high hell for me.
The animation of Juju Smith-Schuster in the first quarter, when it was called with James Bradbury, I said where it wasn't called, showed you the way he would react if he felt like he was held. If you watch the end of that play with Juju Smith-Schuster, he has no reaction whatsoever. That ball hit the white line in the end zone. It was uncatchable, and I know it doesn't have to be catchable for holding to be called. I understand that. But it was just like they realized the throw was way out of whack. They're like, oh, let's throw the flag. You don't want to be known for that. Like, you don't want the Super Bowl to be changed because of that. And I felt like the outcome could have been changed by the officials. I don't know if it was. We never know. We never seen the last page of the book. Well, we did. It just was it was like Game of Thrones ending, like Sopranos ending,
Yeah, I mean, it's even like Chelsea said. If you get to that point in the game, even as a referee, like, you have to think in your head something really, like, I'm going to let the players decide, and whatever happens, happens. Like, obviously, I mean, you would hope they have no skin in the game, but who the hell knows? But at some point, if you're being an unbiased official like they're supposed to be, you have to have that thought in your head. Or, those guys all could talk to each other through their microphones and everything. You have to really think some point, it's like, hey, let these boys decide it. And whatever happens, happens. And I agree with Gene. I don't want to sit here and say the Eagles are going to win, because I don't know that. I don't know that. Like I said, we could have dropped back on his first pass and thrown an interception. Like, who the hell knows? Like,
correct.
It's just the fact that for that great of a game, it just became so anticlimactic at that point as well. Like, Cottrell brought up the other good point. If this is at like the 45-yard line and it happens, I would even understand it more at that point, because the situation's different. Like, Harrison Butker's not kicking a field goal from there. That call changed nothing. Like it changed. Like they were getting 3 points there regardless. Just let them finish it on the field. Just let them settle it on the field. And before anybody says it, I would say the same damn thing the other way. Like we've gone over this before with other teams. You know, we had this last year with Cleveland, or 2 years ago with Cleveland and Kansas City. Like my opinion is not going to change because it's the Eagles. It just hurts more because it was the Eagles.
Yeah.
But to have a great game like that end it in controversy, bad call, conspiracy, whatever the hell you want to call it, it just sucks.
Completely agree. Oh, all right. So what do you want to do next? You want to do the coaching conversation, or you want to do the next year's Super Bowl prediction?
I think you should do Super Bowl first and then go to coaches, I guess.
Agreed.
All right. Well, you want me to start, or you want me to go last?
You like to be bold. Why don't you go first?
All right. Well, next year's Super Bowl, we'll see one of the teams that played Sunday. I think next year's Super Bowl is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And you get Joe Burrow versus Jalen Hurts. And I think it's going to be another all-timer. I'm going to go Eagles, Bengals. I think the Bengals get a lot healthier on their offensive line. Another year of Joe Burrow. And I really believe the Bengals will consistently keep getting better. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles are set up in a perfect position to go on a 3 to 5 year run. Let me explain to you what I mean. This year, they're going to lose a ton of players. You watch Miles Sanders' last game in an Eagles uniform on the Super Bowl. TJ Edwards, probably his last game in an Eagles uniform. James Bradbury, probably his last game in an Eagles uniform. Possibly, I hope we re-sign him, but possibly Brandon Graham's last game as a Philadelphia Eagle. Kazir White's most likely last game as a Philadelphia Eagle. You got more. Javon Hargrave's probably last game as a Philadelphia Eagle. But what the Philadelphia Eagles did is they set themselves up in a nice spot. Number one, Nakobe Dean will walk into the TJ Edwards role and play middle linebacker. Number two, you're going to take a cornerback normally with their top 10 pick, and you're going to have him step into the James Bradbury role. Number three, you drafted Jordan Davis with your first round pick this year. He'll step in and be your starting defensive tackle this upcoming year for Javon Hargrave. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are built right. Jalen's going to get a lot of money, but I think he'll take somewhat of a team-friendly deal. I believe that because he knows what winning feels like, and the Philadelphia Eagles are built the right way. Their offensive line is stacked. Their defensive line is very good. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles will be back there next year. I think it's Eagles over Bengals. That's my Super Bowl for next year.
You want me to go? You want to go?
I mean, I can go next.
Go for it.
I got a kind of outlandish one, and it is very dependent on what happens this offseason. But
Don't say Cleveland. Don't say Cleveland.
No, it's not the Browns. But it is very we know all these great quarterbacks are either on the market or teams are looking to trade them. I think the New York Jets are going to land them a franchise quarterback, whether it be an old one in Aaron Rodgers or a middle of the road guy, not even middle of the road, but top 12, top 10 guy in Derek Carr, or they make a trade and get Lamar Jackson. Regardless, I think they make a move. I think they're going to have a top 15 quarterback on their roster next year. We already saw how competitive they were against the Bills this year. I think Robert Saleh that team is moving in the right direction. They had a great draft last year. I expect them to have another good draft this year. I got the New York Jets going to the Super Bowl with the asterisks of them getting that top 15 quarterback. And on the other side, I think it's going to be a little bit of the same. I have the San Francisco 49ers getting there. I know you guys have beef with them right now, but if Trey Lance can't go and Brock Purdy can't go, obviously Jimmy G is going to be out of there. I don't think they waste a year of that window that they have. I think they go get a guy who can fill the role either until until Brock Purdy comes back or until Trey Lance is ready to go. But I really like what the 49ers have. And so give me the 49ers versus the Jets in the Solo Bowl next year.
I'm not kidding with you. The 49ers have like creeped up to my third most hated team in the NFL. I'm not kidding. Like, yo,
I can understand that.
If you look at that TikTok video, I'm not kidding. If you look at that TikTok video that I sent, there's so many 40 whiners on those comments. Like, you're an effing idiot. I can't wait. They come to Philly next year. You know that. They come back to Philly next year.
Yes, they do.
Sally, give me yours.
So I am actually, while I agree with what Gene said 100% about the Eagles, I do think they're going to lose a little. One of the biggest strengths of the defensive line is the depth they had and being able to rotate in guys in and out. I do think Nakobe Dean is going to step up, and I think, just like Gene, I think he has the ability to be a star. Jordan Davis, we've already seen the flashes. He just got to stay healthy and stay on the field. And honestly, Nakobe Dean can't play any worse than TJ Edwards did on Sunday anyway. So just let the kid play at this point. I agree that they're in a 4 to 5 year window. I think next year is only the only year they take a little bit of a step back, before I think they potentially have a chance to go win 2 and 3 years, something like that. I agree with your AFC team though. I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals to come out of the AFC next year. I like everything they're doing. Again, I think if the offensive line is healthy come postseason time, I think it's a completely different team. There's no signs or anything showing that Joe Burrow won't even be better next year than he was this year. They have everybody signed. I think the only really contract they've really to deal with is Jesse Bates in the back end.
Yeah,
so T Higgins. So,
Well,
but I think T signed. I mean, he's
ready for. He's up for his extension. He's up for his extension.
He's got to be under contract.
You better not do it in the NFC. Don't do it.
What?
You better not do it in the NFC.
Listen, I hate them as much as you do. I just think they're the one. I think it's. I'm kind of going like Cottrell here with the asterisk. I think if they could figure out the quarterback situation, I think they'll get there next year. I don't think they're going to win though, but I just think as great of a job as Howie Roseman's done, and the depth that we have built, I think there are going to be some key guys that are going to have to be starters next year that haven't been. I think there's just going to be a little bit of growing pains. I'm going to take San Francisco with an asterisk, and only because, again, I don't know what they're going to do with QB, and I also got to see who the Eagles hires as coordinators as well. So I'm going to go San Fran or Cincinnati next year.
That also does matter. I didn't account for that, but
I hate you guys.
Definitely matters.
You guys went with the 40 whiners. Friggin'
The other thing too, Gene, if I'm Jalen Hurts, I don't take a team friendly deal. I just saw Patrick Mahomes. He's getting paid $1 billion and he just won a Super Bowl. So I would say I proved that I can compete with him and I want my money. If that means you got to figure it out with how you're going to pay other people, then so be it.
Listen, I mean, the blueprint's there. He's the first big money guy to win it. I think you also just have to look at, everybody wants to talk about, can he catch Brady or whatever now? Like, there's still another 2 years out from really seeing what that's going to do to the team. And that being said, I mean, we can sit here and go back and forth all we want. Jalen Hurts is not Patrick Mahomes. He's great. He's great. He's a top 10 quarterback, and the kid had an incredible year. I don't think you could sit there and say over the course of a year he's absolutely going to do, what Patrick Mahomes is capable of doing.
We got a new listener. Hopefully he's from the TikTok video because he sounds like a 49ers fan. So hopefully we gained one. But he said, smart man, Bill. 49ers are a great team. We just didn't have our quarterback. No excuse for me, but our defense ain't going anywhere. D'Amico Ryans went somewhere. Maybe it's a different scheme. I don't know. I hate the whiners. I'm done.
And that defense gave up 31, just saying.
All right. So I got to bring a point up. And it's a point that drives me absolutely bonkers. And I talk about it every year. And every year it still comes to rear its ugly head. Here we go. Guys, let's make it very simple. Another year and another year where the Houston Texans are the only team that hire an African-American head coach. Eric Bieniemy just outclassed Jonathan Gannon. And Jonathan Gannon got the head coaching job. They hired retreads. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love me some Frank Wright. But Frank Wright got a job. Shane Steichen deserved the job for what he did with Jalen Hurts this year. I'm not saying he didn't. And I'm kind of glad Jonathan Gannon got the Arizona head coaching job because I want a different defensive football scheme. I really believe it. Every time the Philadelphia Eagles have played a top-tier quarterback, he has shredded us. They have shredded us time and time again. However, there's too many good minority candidates that get passed up year in and year out. And for DeMeco Ryans to be the only one hired this offseason again, and for Houston to be the only team hiring a minority head coach just drives me absolutely through a wall. So I'm going to address all the Eric Bieniemy crap. Let's talk about the fact that Eric Bieniemy committed a crime 30 years ago.
Is that real?
What?
Is that real?
Oh, yeah, it was like 30 years ago.
Yeah, I don't even know that. I haven't heard that one.
Well, that gets brought up way too much about his past, about what he did in the past. You know how many, I'm serious, I'm not kidding with you. Do you know how many head coaches have had felony charges against them? Looked this up earlier today.
Current coaches?
No, in the last 10 years. Sorry, I apologize.
That's a lot of coaches.
The last 10 years, how many head coaches have had felony charges placed against them?
I'll say 12.
Higher.
I have no idea.
Number 17.
Jesus.
It's a lot, right? Okay, let's take it a step further. Do you know how many, well, he's an assistant coach, but this is kind of irrelevant. Do you know how many assistant coaches that have felony charges in the last 10 years?
Shit, it's got to be higher than that. It's got to be like, it's
30.
probably astronomical. Yeah, I was thinking like 30.
114.
Jesus Christ. Oh.
Now, obviously, these are assistant coaches. This doesn't mean offense or defense coordinator. But let's address the second part, the crap, right? Well, Andy Reid is the reason that their offense is successful. You've heard that one before, right? That offense is Andy Reid's. I've heard that. Well, Matt Nagy got a job working for Andy Reid. Doug Peterson got a job working for Andy Reid. Sean McDermott got a job working for Andy Reid. I'm not trying to be a smartass when I say this, but help me understand what Eric Bieniemy has to do to get a job. Well, you know what Eric Bieniemy's going to do? He's going to interview and get the job as the Washington Commanders offense coordinator. He's going to be Washington Commanders offense coordinator next year to prove that he will do it in more than one team so he can get a head coaching job. Let me take it a step further. Byron Leftwich was just a head coaching candidate last year. Orchestrated one of the best offenses in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl. He gets fired after one bad season on Tom Brady's farewell tour in which the offensive line was falling apart. Tom Brady's getting divorced with his wife. Byron Leftwich gets let go. Shorter hook for African-American coaches. Just happens. It's BS. Brian Flores took the job as the Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator without interviewing for Arizona, so I can't bring that up, and I understand that. He was listed as one of the top candidates for the Arizona Cardinals job. Apparently, he did not want to go there because of Kyler Murray. I can understand that. It's just time and time again. Every year it seems to come up, and every year I seem to have to talk about it. The last part I want to bring up. There are two coaches in the NFL that are coaching as assistants or are actively interviewing for jobs that have winning records. Can you name them?
What do you mean? Like
there
looking
are
for a
two
job?
coaches that have winning records as head coaches that were fired and are unemployed that are actively coaching for jobs or actively looking for jobs, interviewing for head coaching jobs. Two currently. Do you know who they are?
Is Caldwell one of them?
Caldwell's one.
Well,
Caldwell's a ridiculous record.
Caldwell just got a job
as head coach.
No.
Which is what I mean as the head coach.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Currently looking for a head coaching job and working in the NFL. Can you name the other one? The other one's fun.
Trying to go through all the coordinators real quick.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick before you answer. Do you know what coach this year do you think should have been fired more than any other one that didn't get fired?
Staley.
That's correct. Give you a hint. He was the coach before Staley.
Oh, all right.
33 and 32 as a head coach. Had one bad year. It was the year Phillip Rivers got hurt. Coached Justin Herbert to Rookie of the Year and got fired.
I liked him a lot too, especially after watching Hard Knocks and getting able to really see who he was as a person. That was mind-boggling to me. And not to mention started Herbert to Rookie of the Year when they had no plans on playing him that year.
Correct.
That was the year the stupid trainer punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung.
Correct.
Do we know if Arizona wanted to interview?
Nope.
Bieniemy?
They did not want to interview.
They did not. Nobody did.
I said in the group text, I think if we're being honest, I don't think Bieniemy and Kyler Murray are anywhere near a fit. I don't know if it was that obvious that they were we're just not even going to interview him because there's no way we're going to hire him. I don't know what the discussions were there. The only knock, and Ian Rappaport talked about it today, the only thing that I've heard the last couple of days is teams are still gun shy because Andy Reid does call the plays. So I don't know how true that is. I don't know how much that factors in. Obviously, I don't have to hire a head coach. I do think it's kind of crazy to look at what he's done with Patrick Mahomes, with what he's done. You look at this year, losing all the weapons that he had, kind of plug and play. They took a rookie running back and started him and won a Super Bowl. I don't think a lot of people are defending it at this point, but if you are, I really don't know what leg you're standing on with it at this point.
I'd like to reply to that retort, and I know it's not your retort. I understand it. Doug Peterson did not call plays for Andy Reid, and he got the job as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach and won a Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni did not call plays for Frank Wright and got the job in Philadelphia and took us to a Super Bowl. I'm going to be honest with you. You do not have to call plays to be a good offensive coordinator or a head coach. I actually think Jonathan Gannon will be a better head coach than he is defensive coordinator, because just everything that you listen to him and every time you follow him, he's a very intelligent type person. I think he'll be a decent head coach. That's not the point. The point is just time and time again, African-American coaches get passed up in the NFL. And thank God for Ryan Clark posting that tweet, because that tweet needed to be said. The two coordinators that lost in the Super Bowl get head coaching jobs, and the one coordinator that won did not. Control?
100%. I think it's one thing for him to not even get hired because for whatever reason, if you have your bias, and I know, there's some teams here that have been in the carousel before, like Houston has already been in it. So if they didn't want to hire Bieniemy because they had already talked to him, something like that, that makes sense. But that wasn't the case this go round. You didn't even give him a chance to interview. If you had heard things in the past that were bad about him, he doesn't interview well. Why don't you see for yourself? People can grow within, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know what else he would have to prove to show that he's capable for a head coaching job. I even saw that at one point during, it was an NFL, some sort of NFL summit with coaches. Andy Reid put together a whole presentation about why teams should be looking at Eric Bieniemy and how valuable his services are. So clearly Andy Reid, believes in Bieniemy because he didn't have to do that. I know that he's the head coach and, he's going to try and help his guy out, but he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't owe that to Eric B to try and get him a head coaching job. I'm sure Andy would love to just keep him on his staff and, them just work together and find ways to make that Chiefs offense as great as possible. As great as Patrick Mahomes played this year, he's an out-of-the-world talent, number one quarterback in the league, this Chiefs offense was better this year statistically than they were last year when they had Tyreek Hill. And I know that's a lot of credit goes to Patrick Mahomes because this was an MVP caliber season for him. But I guarantee you a lot of that also goes to scheme. We saw what happened in the Super Bowl. It was Patrick Mahomes played great, but they also schemed together some stuff. Seeing what you saw with the fake motion and how the Eagles responded to it, that goes into coaching. That goes into watching film and putting together game plans for that. The funny thing about it is Doug Peterson was the one that ran it first. And, the Chiefs saw that on film and they implemented it in their game plan. I am sure Eric Bieniemy at some point they were in the film room talking over that kind of stuff together. It's not like Andy Reid, just because he calls plays, he puts together the entire offensive game plan. Andy Reid reads off of, at least for the, beginning of the game, first 15, 20 plays, he's going off a script that I'm sure Eric Bieniemy is the one who majority puts that together. So Andy Reid calling plays, I get it. It's important, things like that. But Eric Bieniemy just keep getting passed up for these opportunities. It's getting absurd to me. And it's crazy that he has to even consider going somewhere else just so he has the opportunity to get a head coaching job. Why would I feel like I need to go prove myself by going to an awful situation in Washington? I get it. They got pieces around, but they don't have a quarterback. Why would I feel like I need to go to a bad situation to prove my worth when I've already shown you what I can do? I've won 2 championships as a offensive coordinator already. It just the rhetoric around it just doesn't make sense because other people don't have to climb through these same hoops.
Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you. We talk about Andy Reid as a head coach and how much credit he deserves. I just want to ask a question. How many Super Bowls has he won without Eric Bieniemy as his offense coordinator? How many Super Bowls has he won without Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback? So it's unfair that Eric Bieniemy is the person that's punished in this. And I support his decision to leave the franchise to go be an offense coordinator for a different team to prove his value and his worth so they could stop saying it's really just Eric. It's really just Andy Reid. It's really just Patrick Mahomes. That's why he's leaving, to prove that.
If I was him, I understand. I 100% agree. Like, I understand the reason why he's leaving, and I, of course, support it. If I was him, I wouldn't leave. I would just keep doing it. Hey, you want to pass up on me? Whatever. I'll just keep winning Super Bowls here. Andy Reid, as great as a career that he's having, Andy Reid's not going to be there forever. And I don't think the Chiefs would pass up on Eric B becoming their next head coach.
Well, that could happen as the Washington Commanders offense coordinator.
No, it absolutely can. I think it'd be more seamless how we saw with like Bruce Arians, giving it up in that situation. Like, I don't think the Bucs were. I don't think they were specifically going to hire within house if Bruce Arians didn't retire the way that he did. I'm just saying that could have been a similar situation that happened in Kansas City.
By the way, somebody put a comment up about, did you guys see the Jonathan Gannon, Kyler Murray first meetup?
I did not.
I have not.
So I seen it, and man, you guys got to see this video. I'm not like trying to be smart when I say this. It looks like Kyler gained 25 pounds, like in the gut.
I mean, he's not doing. He can't do any cardio right now, so
it's crazy.
That's also true.
All right, well, that's already it's 55 minutes in football. We got a lot to talk about this week. You guys ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got All-Star Weekend coming up. NBA All-Star Weekend. Can't wait to talk about it. But before we get into the All-Star Weekend, we got to talk about the previous week's trade deadline. And if you have a new finals prediction, because I do. Anybody else have a new finals prediction?
Yeah, but it's not because of the trade deadline.
Mine is 100%. So the Phoenix Suns have got themselves the prize of the trade deadline this year. Kevin Durant, and they didn't have to give up DeAndre Ayton. Kevin Durant, they didn't have to give up Devin Booker. You have a team that has Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton. The Phoenix Suns are my new favorite and my new pick to win the NBA Finals. Also, the Philadelphia 76ers are absolute frauds. So I will start by saying I would like to remove them from my pick to win the NBA Finals because they're fraudulent. And I'm tired of watching a fraudulent team after they traded Matisse Thybulle. You see Thybulle go to Portland, drop 16 points with 4 3-pointers, and then trash Doc Rivers in the press conference afterwards.
What do you say?
Said it's really nice to be wanted and have a place. It's really nice to be able to play basketball openly. He didn't say anything directly at Doc, but he said he felt wanted, that he felt like he could play basketball again openly.
Good for him.
Looks great in Portland. I think the kid had all the potential and ability in the world, and he went backwards with Doc Rivers. I really believe that. I
just don't know what it's going to take for him to get fired. I just don't.
Well, this year.
Hopefully this year.
This year.
Yeah. I can't see. I think that the Sixers fans would riot if he doesn't make a finals.
I was going to say it's going to be another second round.
I was going to say what. I guess it depends on how the season ends. To be honest, honestly, I think if they make the conference finals, I don't think it's game.
Man,
I don't think you get there. If I'm being honest, how the East just shook out, I don't think you get there because that means you're going up against most likely either Boston or Milwaukee in the second round. I don't think you beat either. If I'm being honest,
appreciate the honesty. I agree with you. So let's talk about the trade deadline. Kyrie Irving gets moved to the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie. Oh, man. How much better are the Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie Irving?
I mean,
I think on paper, I mean, it's good.
I think they're a lot better. I think before they had and this is to say that I think they're championship material, but I think before they were very limited. Like the ceiling was how far can Luka take this team. Now that you have another guy to help Luka, I think you can win those. You can win some tough matchups. Like this Mavericks team went to the Western Conference Finals last year, and they took out the number 1 team last year in Phoenix. So I think adding a guy like Kyrie Irving, as much as you may not like him off the court and may not like his personality and things like that, it's a guy that knows what it takes to win a championship. And the last time he won a championship, he was number 2 option, and in Dallas, he's going to be that number 2 option. So it really just depends on how much Jason Kidd can get Kyrie to buy in and how well they can mesh. But I think this is a team that can go Western Conference Finals again and give teams problems.
First round exit.
I think before the year, depending on where they would have been seated, I think Luka is good enough to get you through one. Again, I think a lot of it will shake out depending on where they end up being seated. I mean, they're not. I could see them losing in the first round. I could see them winning one round. I think that's as far as they go, though. I think they're most likely getting either some combination probably of Denver or Phoenix in that second round, and they're not beating either one of those teams. I
got a fun bet with Cottrell. Cottrell, you've won every fun bet we've made. Would you like to make one?
I don't think Cottrell's lost a fun bet with either one of us on this damn show since we started, to be honest.
Let's make a fun one, Cottrell. Here's the bet. I'm going to put it out there for you.
Still on cheesesteaks.
Dylan Brooks punched Donovan Mitchell in the balls, right?
That is correct.
He's your least favorite player in the NBA. Is that fair?
He's definitely up there.
Okay. Here's the bet. If the Dallas Mavericks make the Western Conference Finals, I will buy and wear a Kyrie Irving jersey on this show. If the Dallas Mavericks do not make it past the first round of playoffs, you will buy and wear a Dylan Brooks jersey on the show.
That is fair. I can accept that.
If anything else, if it's the second round,
just wash.
To wash.
We wash. Okay. I like that.
I think that might hurt you more. Well, it might hurt me more than it hurts you. It might hurt me more than it hurts you. Kyrie Irving. You notice the one thing I avoided?
What's that?
There's zero chance in the world you'll catch me wearing a Ben Simmons jersey. I don't care what the bet is. I'm not making
it wasn't my bet, so I wasn't going to say anything, but I would have countered if I was Cottrell.
Why? Dylan Brooks, Kyrie Irving. I hate Kyrie.
I know.
It would have burned your goddamn soul to put a Ben Simmons jersey on.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't make that. Wouldn't do it.
Not gonna do it.
All right. Bill, what team got better during the trade deadline?
I mean, we already talked on Phoenix. I mean, they got top 3 player in the league as long as he's healthy and that starting 4, and they can put a trash can out there. It's not going to matter for a lot of the nights. I think Dallas got better. I don't think it's to the degree that Cottrell does. Maybe we disagree a little bit on that, but I think the Clippers made a couple interesting moves. I think the Clippers got better. I think the Clippers are the sleeper team in the West, if I'm being honest. As long as they can keep Kawhi and Paul George healthy, that team definitely got better. They strengthened them. They had a couple weaknesses, and they have more depth now, and they rounded out their squad. I think the Lakers got a little bit better. I don't think it's going to be enough, but I think the Lakers are better now than they were, a week ago for sure.
I need to say this on air before it changes. I want to make a prediction. The Philadelphia 76ers are currently beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 31-10 in the first quarter. I predicted the Philadelphia 76ers will blow that lead. I'm not saying they'll lose the game, but I predict the lead will be blown.
It's a 6-point game.
I think this game ends like 111-107. You know what I mean? Like,
yep,
one way or the other. But
always.
Just wanted to say that the 76ers.
We are terrible at putting people away.
I don't know what the hell is going on over there, but
I'll go Phoenix, Boston. Finals. Phoenix over Boston's my new finals.
I still like Milwaukee winning the chip, but I like Milwaukee over Phoenix.
So you changed to Phoenix?
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, but I'm saying like I was off the Lakers bandwagon by game 4. So
you didn't pick Phoenix before. When we asked you to update it around Christmas or like January, whatever it was, you went with who'd you go with out of Western Conference? You switched it from the Lakers to somebody else, now to Phoenix. I forget who the team was.
I forgot this conversation that we had on here. I was just thinking about our preseason, but I still like Milwaukee to win it. I think they got a quiet good move, quiet good pickup in Jay Crowder. Getting a guy who fills that PJ Tucker-esque role for them.
Yeah, it's fair.
I think that'll
Holiday,
really help.
Jay Crowder, Giannis. They got a very good defensive team.
Yeah, they'll play good defense over there, and you got the best player in the world. You're always going to have a chance to win it all. The other team that I think, Bill, you hit it on the head. I love what the Clippers did. Getting Bones Highland, that's a great pickup for them. I was kind of confused because they got rid of both of their point guards and John Wall and Reggie Jackson, but if they can just figure out how to get the ball up the court and how to manufacture offense outside of just ISO ball, I think the Clippers are going to be very tough.
They have
I just said that. I just said that.
I know, but like
I just said that.
We all agreed when we talked about this earlier. The most important position on the basketball court was the point guard.
Facts.
They have a point guard.
Look, they're gonna try to run Eric Gordon a point. I mean,
they're running
Bones Highland,
the backup point guard. You're running
Terrence Mann is going to be
starting point guard.
Terrence
Mann is their starting point guard. What a joke!
I love the talent that they have. They got Bones is a guy who's legit. The question is going to be, how healthy is Kawhi going to be come playoff time? He's already missed 27 games this year. That's going to be that's the question. The point guard thing, I think you could figure that out one way or another. Is Kawhi going to be out there playing with you, or are you going to be throwing out there PG and all these 6 men that you got who are good players but shouldn't be starters in the NBA?
Jeremy thinks the Lakers got better. I agree. D'Angelo Russell's definitely better than Russell Westbrook. I said Russell Westbrook. I hope he punches me in the face. I'll sue him. Sorry.
Maybe he goes to LA again.
Then they went and shipped out Clippers. I mean, there's a lot of talk of that. Yeah. I mean, they went and shipped out Mo Bamba. Lakers got Mo Bamba for Patrick Beverly. Dude lasted all 3 months in LA.
Bev got bought out too.
Yeah.
We're talking about
that's another one I could see going to LA. He's already been there.
We'll see. That'll be a better pickup for it. All right, ready for All-Star Weekend, boys?
I got to ask one question first, and
Yep.
I don't want this to turn into a 20-minute thing because it has the potential with you two. But Phoenix wins the chip. How legit is it?
I mean,
Very.
it's not that legit.
I think it's legit.
No, it's not. You just added Kevin Durant to a team that's a top 2 seed in the West every year.
I mean,
It's
I
like
get
Kevin
that, but
Durant winning the championship with Golden State. It's the same. Did you think the
I
Golden
don't.
State championship was legit?
I disagree though. This isn't the same at all. Like Phoenix got ousted last year in the Western Conference Finals with pretty much the exact same roster to just Luka, and Phoenix also gave away their entire bench. That Warriors team was a team that had went to the championship 2 years before. They had won one of them and blew a 3-1 lead in the other, and then they added Kevin Durant. I don't think this is the same caliber as what it was with Golden
I don't
State.
think it's a stacked team, but I think that it's not like a really legit championship. Like I don't. I think
Yeah.
it's KD being KD.
I mean, I don't disagree with that portion of it, but the other thing too is
Remember before
Chris
the
Paul.
season, he's like, "Yeah, I'd like to get traded to Miami or Phoenix, top 2 teams in your conference.
I,
Go to either one, just either one.
I,
Just go with
I
the
will
top."
say, I will say too, Chris is as much hate as I give Chris Paul, and this isn't going to be any hate towards him, but we are starting to finally see him slow down. Like before, he was all-star caliber. We talked about him being a
Say that,
top 2
but the
point
last
guard.
couple of games, he's looked incredible.
He has. Now that Devin Booker is back, but I'm just saying what he was looking like. Like he wasn't looking like the all-star, all NBA caliber point guard. Like I just don't see this Phoenix team. They gave up a lot too. Like I know name-wise it's not a lot, especially when you're getting back Kevin Durant in return, but you lost Mikal Bridges, you lost Cam Johnson. Like you're going to be throwing out a stacked starting lineup, but your bench is going to have to keep you in the game too at some point. So I don't think this is the same as the Golden State thing.
I think that the Phoenix Suns have found another budding superstar, not superstar, budding star in Josh Okogie. I think Chris Paul dropping 17 points, 19 assists last night. He's back to form. I think that you're looking at DeAndre Ayton walking into a better situation with Kevin Durant being able to space the floor more to give him a lot of offensive rebounding situations. Devin Booker had 32 last night. Like I think that the Phoenix Suns are going to be really good. And I think that they're my pick. I think they beat Boston. But, it is what it is. We'll see. Let's move on to All-Star Weekend. What do we got first, Kittrell? What do we got first? The 3-point shootout. I got picks for all of these guys. I got a value pick. I got a straight pick. I'll tell you who I think is going to be in the finals of these. And I'm going to put a couple dollars on each one.
Couple dollars.
All right, so 3-point shootout. Kittrell, give us your pick. You can give us your finals, like first and second place, or like a dark horse, whatever you want to do. Lead the show.
Right, let me get up my odds here. But I do like Damian Lillard to win this award. I like him in the final against Buddy Hield. Funny enough, these are actually the top 2 odds wise. Buddy Hield at plus 420, Damian Lillard at plus 470. But I like Dame to win this one. The three-point contest really isn't about like who the best shooter is. Obviously, it's an award for the best shooter, but you got to get used to shooting in these types of contests. So I think Dame and Buddy, they have that experience, and it's going to show. So I like those 2 in the final.
Yeah, Bill.
I'm going a little further down. I do think Cottrell hit on a point. I think you need 2 guys that, if they can get hot and then just go through a couple racks and not miss a ball. So sometimes you almost want more of a streaky shooter in this, as long as they can get hot. I'm going with Tyler. I can be your hero, baby, over Damian Lillard in the finals.
I like it. There's a real big value play in this. Real big value play. Buddy Hield's not it. I think Buddy Hield wins it. I think Buddy Hield is the he's got a quick shot. He gets hot. He gets streaky. I got Buddy Hield winning it. But I think the biggest value play in the whole field is Lauri Markkanen at plus 600. I like that. I might sprinkle a couple dollars on that. So I got Buddy Hield over Lauri Markkanen in the finals. Buddy Hield over Lauri Markkanen in the finals. What's next?
The least exciting
Ugh.
slam dunk contest in the history of slam dunk contests.
They couldn't even get a 76ers jersey on him in time.
Blue coats.
If he doesn't come out to Return of the Mac, he's missing the boat. He is.
I can't believe we can't get anything better than this. I'm still mad LeBron's never done this. Like, Aaron Gordon's so pissed off he's been screwed 3 times. He's never going to do it again. But I mean, there's nobody else. Like, we got G League players now.
Yo,
I will say,
win this.
Yeah, Mac McClung can dunk. Like, in a way, I'm kind of okay with a G League player in this circumstance, just because I know, well, from what Mac has already shown me and the crazy dunks that he does in like practice and just open gyms and things like that. Like, I think he's actually going to put on a show. I guess my problem is we got guys like Ja Morant now. Like, Ja Morant hasn't done a dunk contest, and he talks about not wanting to do one. It's just, there's so many players right now. Even if you want to go with a young guy, Shaedon Sharpe has been jumping out the gym in Portland and putting down some ridiculous dunks.
Withdrew. Shaedon Sharpe wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't. He withdrew.
But I'm just saying, like him not being in it. Like, we got these high flyers like in the league. We could have all-time dunk contests right now, but they don't want to do it.
Yo, Jeremy, watch your mouth. Jeremy, watch your mouth. All right. So I think the biggest joke on this list is Jericho Sims. I know he was the last second replacement, but you got to be kidding me, right? The next center, backup center. Are you for real right now?
Yeah.
I'll take Mac McClung over Kenyon Martin Jr. in the finals.
I have the same, actually.
Unfortunately, it's not too fun here. We are going to sweep this one. I also have Mac McClung over Kenyon Martin Jr. I think Mac's going to pull out something crazy. He's going to pull out something that we've never seen. And as bad as these names are, I think Mac's going to make it just a little bit worth it.
I just need to go back to like the early 90s, dude. Where like literally, like out of all the All-Star games, the slam dunk contest was the best thing. Like the slam dunk contest was bigger than the actual freaking game. Like everybody showed up to watch Spud, Dominique, Michael, whoever. Like think of this whole generation that like didn't want to do it. But like, you know, John, like LeBron, all those guys, like they all grew up watching it. Like they talk about it all the time, but not one of them will step up and do it.
But we get to watch Trey Murphy and Jericho Sims.
Yeah.
My thing is that and I guess I'm okay if Ja and LeBron, and obviously I want to see those guys do it, but give me something. If you're known for dunking, like when we got
why is it okay?
prime
why is it okay they don't do it? This isn't like the home run derby where you like mess up your swing. Like you're going.
I'm not saying it's fine that they don't do it. I understand, like, if you're a superstar, if you're a top 10 player and you don't want to do it, I don't agree with it, but I understand that more. I'm just saying there's people who are literally in the NBA that are known for dunking. Like when we get in the prime Blake Griffin years, or when Zach LaVine was in it, and Aaron Gordon, like there's plenty more guys that are dunkers that could be in this game. Like Jalen Green, we've seen put down crazy dunks. And I get it, you know.
I think he's just Bill. I think he's just trying to take the heat off his boy.
That's all he's doing. You're talking about circles for 2 minutes. Like you on one hand go like, I understand why the top 10 superstars. Michael Jordan was the best player in the league, and he did it like 5 years in a row.
Which is I love that. I want to see those guys in it. Kobe did it 1 year. He won it. He was done. Like
did you guys?
I understand.
Did you guys see the rising?
I was going to go his whole career and never do this one time.
And we've been robbed of seeing that.
Did you guys see the Rising Stars teams?
Everybody just announced. I have not seen them.
All right, so I have them here, and I know that you don't have the graphic, right?
No.
Okay, so I have them here, and I don't know, like if my next fantasy draft, I'm inviting Pau Gasol.
They clean up.
Yes,
he did.
So, Team Jason is all G League players. Mac McClung, it'll be nice. Scottie Pippen Jr. will be on that team. It'll be cool. So I'm going to read you Team Deron Williams, Team Joakim Noah, and then Team Pau Gasol. And I want you to hear it. You're going to hear some good players on each team, but then when you hear Pau Gasol, you're like, what? Like, what pick did he get him? And they were all drafted, okay? Deron Williams, Jalen Green, great, probably best player in this whole thing, like as far as where they're at, advancement. Won't be the best player, but great player. AJ Griffin, Bones Highland, Walker Kessler, Trey Murphy III, Alperan I can't say his name, Singwin from Houston, and Franz Wagner.
Franz.
Pretty good team for Deron Williams. He's the second favorite to win it. Joakim Noah's team. Joakim Noah. This is like you're shooting. Like, how did you draft this team? Jalen Duran, Josh Giddey, Quentin Grimes, Evan Mobley, Jabari Smith Jr., Jeremy Sockham, and Jalen Williams. Team Pau Gasol. Jose Alvarado, Paulo Banchero, Scotty Barnes, Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin, Keegan Murray, and Andrew Nemhard.
I mean, I'm not going to say I don't know how they lose, because they might, because I mean, it's whatever. It's a damn near exhibition, but that's a really good team.
Yeah, Pau Gasol cleaned up. He got the
I'm
best
not a kid, dude.
his class.
I'm more excited about watching those games than the actual game.
100%. He got the best 3 rookies in the class, and he got last year's Rookie of the Year.
I will say, though, I do like on Team Jason, he's got Scoot Henderson and he's got Kenneth Lofton Jr., who I think in a game like that, he is going to ball out.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Scoot.
It'll be fun. I think Pau Gasol's team wins it all, though. Benedict Mathurin is literally like microwave. He's just heats up constantly. Jaden Ivey, Scotty Barnes, Paulo Banchero, runaway Rookie of the Year. Jose Alvarado's the perfect point guard for that team.
And you got Keegan Murray, who's probably going to finish number 2 in Rookie of the Year voting. It'll be far off number 2, but probably finish number 2 when it's all said and done.
It's just too good. That roster's too good. You ready? You guys ready for? I'm not picking the game. Sorry, I'm picking the rookies in the skills competition too.
I'm legit more excited to watch the Rising Star games than I am
Saturday
the
night
actual game. Yep.
I will say, though, last year's All-Star game, the last 2 years, since they switched over to this new format, the fourth quarter has actually been interesting to watch.
I actually agree with Kittrell. It has been more interesting with the new format.
Whenever there's games that get in the 200s, I'm out.
Well, we really haven't gotten to the 200s, but
yeah, I mean, you get high these 160s, but they actually start playing defense in the fourth quarter with the new Elam ending. And I mean, this year it'll kind of suck a little bit because you're going to be missing, some big stars. Like, honestly, we're already missing Durant. Zion's not playing. There's other injuries there too.
Did you bring up Zion?
I mean, he was a starter. He was a starter in the All-Star game this year.
I'm done.
What's wrong
with Zion Williamson starting an All-Star game over Ja Morant? I know they play different positions. Came out in the same draft. Ja's been better than him every single year, and Ja Morant's not starting the All-Star game. And Zion.
I'm just saying in an All-Star game setting, and Ja's starting now. But
I get it. That's not the point. He wasn't elected the starter, but Zion Williamson was.
In an All-Star game setting, though, that's the kind of show that you would want to see a guy like Zion in, or he's going to put off these crazy dunks and stuff like that. But
I mean, who jumps better than Ja?
Agreed. I don't. Let's get into some baseball, boys. Let's get into some baseball. I'm ready to get in some pitchers. We are kicking off our list of wire-to-wire top 10 pitchers 2023 edition. I feel like, wow, I didn't see these lists until right now. This is interesting. Interesting list. Okay. All right. So now I see them. I can kind of try to understand a little bit more. Looks like we all have Shohei right in the middle of the pack. Corbin's in everybody's top 5. I got Verlander way lower than you guys do. We all got DeGrom in the top 3, although I wish I could just remove him. And everyone's got Alcantara number 1. All right, so let's get into it. Control, break down your list real quick.
All right. So, I mean, I think it's more fun when we go like we alternate through 10
That's fine.
instead of just going, 5 minutes of the whole list.
That's
So
fair.
my number 10, I got Garrett Cole. You guys know every year I love me some Garrett Cole. Obviously last year wasn't a great year for him, but a lot of that though was because of his start. I think towards the middle and the end of the year, he started pitching a lot better. I think he'll be fine. He'll be an all-star again this year. Probably sit around high 2, low 3 ERA, win 13 to 16 games this year. Obviously, it's a big gap there, but I mean, I think I could see him winning, 15 games and being sub 3 ERA. So I got him into my number 10.
Bill,
I'm going Aaron Nola number 10. I don't think 15 games, winning 15 games is going to be enough to crack these lists this year. With some of these younger kids having a full year under their belt, a couple of them, we all have on our list we're going to get into soon. Aaron Nola is one of 7 guys that went over 200 strikeouts and 200 innings pitched last year. His analytics are off the charts. If you look at his in-depth numbers, he's going to win a lot of games. Going to be the number 1 pitcher again for a team that is poised to make another postseason run. He's the workhorse of that staff. Doesn't get hurt. Just keeps throwing. It's been over 200 innings 3 straight years. I think he has another good year. I have him number 10.
Last year he had the most innings pitched, including playoffs. 230 innings pitched. It's the only reason, and he's in a contract year this year. I thought about putting him on my list. He was very close to being on my list. I do have one honorable mention that's not here, and that's okay. I couldn't find a place to put Framber Valdez. Framber Valdez deserves to be on my list, and I'm embarrassed he's not. Framber is just absolute stud. 226 innings pitched last year. He's just sometimes unhittable. I struggle with Carlos Rodon, putting him on my list or not, because he only really pitches great in his contract years. I think he pitches in the Yankee Stadium this year, and I think he has a good enough year to crack the top 10. I think we'll get a lot of wins behind that lineup. I think that his ERA will be hovering around that 3 range, and I think that'll be good enough to get him in a little bit of AL Cy Young talk. Obviously from my list, I don't think he gets anywhere near that. My number 9 is my favorite pitcher in baseball, Julio Urias. Love him. Kid's just next level. Gets better and better each year. Next year, he'll be in your top 5. In your top 5, not mine. He'll be way up there. But Urias gets better each year. I love the kid, and can't wait to continue to watch him grow. What I will say is this. This is disrespectful what Shalley's about to do. Go ahead, Shalley.
It's not. It's not. He's still a young kid. Dylan Cease got great stuff. Struggled middle part of the year last year. Started out really strong. Had kind of a little bit of letdown. Picked back up at the end of the year. Great stuff. Great arm action. Fastball is 97 plus most days. Sits around 98, 99 consistently. Just getting better and better. Young kid. He's only 25. It's not anything kind of lack of respect for him or anything like that. I just think that guys, in front of him are going to have better years. And I think this pitching list with Dylan Cease being one of them, we already mentioned Framber, with some of these steps that these kids took last year, this list was harder than ever. I sat there yesterday and just went over and over, like, the fact that, like, I couldn't convince myself to put Urias on this list. And that is a kid that I'm high on. I think he's a great pitcher. The starting pitching the last 2 years in the Major League Baseball has blown up. all these young kids that were top prospects for a really long time, they're all in the majors now, and they're all pitching well. And we all have a couple of them on these lists. Dylan Cease being one of them. Again, not a disrespectful thing. I just think everybody I have ahead of him is going to have a better year. It's a projection list, but I couldn't make this list, without putting him on it. So that's why I have him number 9.
I could try you up for 2.
All right, so my number 9, Alek Manoah, a guy that you guys don't have on your list from Toronto. Reason why I love this kid is, one, you guys know that I feel like last year I was big on Toronto, so I think Toronto obviously going to be a great team, but he's going to have the opportunity at 24 years old to be ace of this rotation. He was second in the league last year with his quality starts, and he had a 2.2 ERA. I think he's only going to get better this upcoming season. I could see him winning 16 games again or more, continue with that low ERA. And I think with that Blue Jays team being as good as they are, like, he has a chance in the win column, especially to get that number pretty high. So I think he's going to continue on his upward path with the quality starts and not really allow other teams to put runs up on the board. So I think he's going to take a step forward going into 2023. My number 8 is a guy in Philadelphia that you guys love. It's going to be your ace, and Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler was a guy, I believe last year I didn't have him at all on my list. After seeing how he finished out the year and how he pitched throughout the playoffs, there was nothing in me that said that he couldn't be a top 10 pitcher this following year. Everything that he did, I mean, he had a nerves of steel. Like, he was ready to go. He was roaring. And I think he's going to embrace being the number 1. I know you guys have Aaron Nola there, but I think everybody knows that he's going to be the ace of that staff. I think he's going to embrace it and have a great season.
I'm going to talk about disrespectful. How I'm the only person that has this guy on his list is wild to me.
It's fair.
Saw him up close and personal, unfortunately, twice in the World Series. Number 8 for me is Framber Valdez. Has debatably the dirtiest curveball in Major League Baseball right now. Spin rate through the roof. Kid is durable. Like Gene said earlier, over 200 innings last year. He's going to be the ace of that staff this year with Verlander gone. The kid is filthy. Disgusting stuff. I think the most impressive thing for me about Framber is, especially after watching him in the World Series last year, he actually has a really good feel for the position. He actually knows how to pitch. He's not a kid that just goes up on the mound and throws the ball and gets away with it because he has great stuff. He knows how to pitch. He knows how to set hitters up. He knows how to get hitters out. He knows how to pitch to contact sometimes when he doesn't have his best stuff. He is a future Cy Young Award winner. He's a future. I mean, he's already got a World Series ring. Kid is great, and he's a workhorse on top of everything else. I have him number 8, and again, he's somebody that probably will make. He wasn't on my list last year. He made a big jump this year up to number 8. He'll probably be a lot higher next year.
I have the one of the 2 senior citizens that pitched for the New York Mets, Justin Verlander. He's 58 years old, entering his 28th MLB season as my number 8. I think that he takes a step back, as well as Max Scherzer. I think both of those guys on that senior citizen staff just don't have the arms in them to finish the year. Pitching in New York, as Max learned last year, is a little harder than it looks because of the weather. Your arm gets tighter quicker. You don't be able to get that Houston warm weather area throughout the entire year. He's going to start with cold weather. He's going to end with cold weather. I got Verlander taking a step back at number 8. My number 7 is a guy that I projected a huge breakout year last year. Finished second in the AL Cy Young, Shane McClanahan. McClanahan was an absolute animal. He probably would have won the AL Cy Young if he didn't get shut down in the beginning of September. McClanahan was an absolute beast for the Rays, and it continues an upward trend in the top 10.
Number 7, I got my guy Zach Wheeler. He was on the bottom of my list last year, even higher this year. Great stuff. Again, I think we were one of 2 teams that had 2 guys that went over 200 innings last year. Dude pitched great down the stretch. He's been an absolute workhorse for us. Got a little tired at the end. I think they're going to manage him a little bit better this year. Great stuff, great fastball, great changeup. Has a great slider that he throws off of them when he's throwing all 3 pitches for strikes. He's elite. He is absolutely a top 8 pitcher on the planet right now. Same thing with him. It's he had durability issues, which is kind of why we got him so cheap when we got him from the Mets. He's had one little bout the first year he was here. Other than that, he's been healthy. He stays healthy. He puts up crazy numbers. Eats up innings, strikeouts over 200 again last year. I love everything about him, and he's a gamer. He's a tough kid. Like, he wants the ball. He's not somebody that runs away from it. So number 7 for me. I think it's only a matter of time before he's named the number 1, but he's number 7 on the list for me this year.
My number 7 is the guy that Gene just talked about in McClanahan. I think, before this year, McClanahan was a guy who I really didn't know much about. Obviously, Gene was putting him on the map. He thought he was going to win the Cy Young last year, and for a good chunk of the year, it looked like he was going to, up until the end. But McClanahan being over there with Tampa Bay, I think obviously he's the ace of that staff, and he does what he has to do. He keeps his ERA low and strikes out people. So, I mean, I do think too with him being in Tampa Bay, there's a situation where if he does struggle at all, he's not going to have the wins in the win column. Like, I think last year he only ended up with 12. I think he's going to have an opportunity this year to boost that number. And if you're at 15 to 18 wins and you got an ERA 2.5 like last year or below, then you're right there in the thick of it again for the AL Cy Young. My number 6 is a guy, Dylan Cease, who, Shally has a little bit lower, Gene has a little bit higher. Dylan Cease is a guy that us Guardians, we have to see, many times throughout the year. So I get to watch him, up close and personal, how crazy his stuff is. Talk about a guy who only puts out quality starts. Dylan Cease is that guy. I really wish he played for a different team, but him being the ace of that Chicago White Sox lineup and him being as young as he is, I fear them. I know the Guardians just won the AL Central, but I truly think when you got this kind of guy as your ace, you can be special. So I really like Dylan Cease. I think he has a really good chance actually to win the AL Cy Young this year.
Agreed.
Number 6 for me is Max Scherzer from the Mets, divisional guy. I feel like he's been in the division forever between Washington and now the Mets. Great stuff. He's getting a little up there in age. He showed last year again when he was healthy. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. I do think the Mets have a little bit of a handful on their plate this year with managing both him and Verlander, but I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to probably randomly skip their starts here and there. That team's going to win a lot of games. They're going to keep them healthy for down the stretch. But listen, I mean, we've seen them. We've seen it too often as a Philly fan. When he's on and he's throwing all 5 pitches, and yes, he throws 5 pitches, he's electric. He is a guy that can go out and throw a no-hitter at any time, or a guy you'll turn on at the end of the night and 7 innings pitched, 19 strikeouts. He's that type of guy, and he still is. He still has that stuff. Maybe not quite the top end velo that he used to, but he's also a smart pitcher. He knows how to get people out. So he's a stalwart of the top 10. Been here for a long time. This year's no different. He's number 6 for me.
I got my man Zach Wheeler, number 6. Absolute beast for the Philadelphia Phillies. You guys both mentioned him already. I won't take more time on this. We got a lot to get into with the show. And then I got Shohei Ohtani, a staple of the top 5 pitchers in baseball now. The guy is all world. Great hit, top 5 hitter, top 5 pitcher. Man, I just don't know how you get much better than Shohei.
I have Shohei number 5 as well. I think the thing that separates him from the top 4 for me is he is he's still not pitching every 4 days. He's pitching every 5 days. The Angels had like a 6-man rotation last year. And I still think he goes out and tries to strike too many people out. And when you have his type of stuff, I understand how that's easy to do. I think when Shohei learns to pitch, and trust the stuff a little bit more and pitch to contact a little bit more, I think his numbers are going to go down even more. I think his ERA will go down. I think he'll win more games. He just doesn't pitch enough innings for me to be, with these top four guys. He has the stuff to be there. But when you're only pitching 5 innings a game because you're at 110 pitches, because you're getting these crazy battles, it's one thing I would like to see him do a little bit better this year. But just stuff alone and how electric he is, and Gene already mentioned his hitting. There's no way he can't be on this list. So he's number 5 for me.
My number 5 is a guy who won the 2021 Cy Young, and that's Corbin Burns. I think Corbin Burns obviously is going to have another phenomenal year. Last year, he was top 5 in strikeouts. Obviously, he's top strikeout guy. He's always going to have 200 plus strikeouts. But the 4 guys that I have ahead of him, I just think are going to have better years. I think this is going to be another year where he has a 2.5 or below, 2.4 and below ERA. And he's going to be a 225 plus strikeout guy. So I just think that the guys ahead of him are guys who I think are going to be right there in the thick of it for the Cy Young. My number 4 is Shohei Ohtani. You guys mentioned a lot with him already. And I mean, there's really not much more to get into. I think the only thing that may not go in his favor is what his numbers are going to be like in the win column, just because the Angels, they've shown time and time again they don't like winning baseball games.
So number 4, Kachal just talked about Corbin Burns. The run that he's been on the last 3 years is incredible. I think he has the ability to be anywhere from 4 to number 1 on this list. I wouldn't really argue any position anybody had him in. Great stuff. Plays for Milwaukee. He's been their number 1 for the last couple of years, kept them in playoff races, got them into playoff races. Up until late in the year last year, his ERA was under 2 going into August, which is just nuts. I think it's an interesting year to watch him with a Cy Young. I think he's not going to be the odds-on favorite. I think it'd be great to watch it because he's on a contract year, and there's no way Milwaukee's going to be able to afford him. So I think he gets traded at the deadline this year to a contender. It would be really scary to see him show up in a Mets uniform, a Phillies uniform, a Dodgers uniform, something like that. So I think Corbin Burns is probably having another great year. I just think the 3 guys ahead of him are going to be a tad better this year.
Well, my number 4 is Dylan Never Cease to Amaze Me. Dylan Cease was my dark horse to win AL Cy Young last year. He finished 3rd. Kid's got dynamic stuff. Probably the best strikeout pitcher in baseball, not named Corbin Burns. Both incredible. Dylan Cease is young. Great stuff. The only problem with Dylan Cease is he pitches for Chicago. The White Sox stink. The ballpark stinks. So he's number 4 for me. Great stuff out of Dylan Cease. My number 3 is Corbin Burns. Strikeout machine. I think he could be number 1. If I had to redo this list with the information that I just found out before the show, I wouldn't have Jacob deGrom on it. So my number 3 is Corbin Burns. He's going to be the runner-up for NL Cy Young. I think the AL Cy Young will be Dylan Cease. Throw $25 on both and make yourself some money. But Corbin Burns is my number 3. Kid's an absolute stud.
Number 3 for me is Jacob deGrom. I've talked about him ad nauseam on this show. When he is on and when he is healthy, it's still debatable if there's anybody on any of these lists that's better than him. His injury news that Gene's talking about, I read up on it right before we went on the air. It's really not that serious. It's non-throwing side. He's got soreness in his left side. They push his throwing back one day. So if he makes that bullpen session, then I really don't think it's that serious. But the thing with Jacob deGrom is the same it's been for the last couple of years. When he's healthy, he's the best there is. The problem is he has not been healthy for 3 years. He hasn't played a full season in 3 years. Last year, I think he didn't even make 20 starts. It's always been the Achilles heel for him. That's the reason I have him at number 3, because I just don't know if I trust him even going to Texas and pitching in the warm weather all year long, if that's going to be enough to keep him healthy. So I put him at number 3. I had to convince myself to do that, but I honestly, I'm being safe rather than getting burned again last year. Put him number 1.
All right, so my number 3 is a guy that Gene already mentioned, the 85-year-old himself, Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander's coming off an AL season, and I know he's leaving Houston, where he was, super successful and coming off arguably, the best year of his career. But I think going to a New York Mets team, I get it. The division is loaded, but you're going up again. You're going to a Mets team that plays great defense, and you're going to have great defense behind you. So I think Justin Verlander playing in New York, I think he'll be just fine. And I truly think that he has another phenomenal year, and I think he finished just second in the Cy Young voting when it's all said and done. My number 2 is Jacob deGrom. Obviously, you guys have both already. Well, you guys have mentioned him already. Gene with the news, and then Bill just going over his breakdown of him. But Bill said it best: when he's playing and he's healthy, he's best pitcher in baseball. I think he's going to go to Texas. And it's a projection, and I'm going to project him to be healthy this year. I think he goes to Texas and he wins a ton of games, and he wins himself a Cy Young. Granted, I think at some point during the year he's going to have to sit down, just because. I mean, I'm not gonna fight reality here, but I think Jacob deGrom's going to play enough this year, and he's going to be healthy and lead those Rangers to the playoffs, and he's going to win a Cy Young this year. So I got him on my number 2.
Number 2, I got the other guy that I saw more than I wanted to see of last year in Justin Verlander. I'm going to see a whole hell of a lot more of him this year. Dude's an ageless wonder. He's the Nolan Ryan type-esque guy. He's a fastball first guy. He had Tommy John, and he seems to be better now than he was 4 years ago. Also with like Jacob deGrom, both these guys are switching leagues this year, so that is an advantage to the pitchers. It takes hitters a little bit longer to catch up, to figure out their patterns and so forth and so on. So they will both be seeing new guys this year that they're not used to pitching against on a normal basis. Listen, I mean, the dude won another Cy Young, debatably could have won an MVP last year. Great stuff. Still throwing high 90s consistently late in the games. Still an inning workhorse. The dude has a resume that is damn near unmatched for the modern game for a pitcher. I think he's great. I think he's in a way tougher division now than he was last year with Houston, but I still think he's going to put up great numbers. So I have him number 2.
My number 2 is Jacob deGrom, and I regrettably do it. And I know Bill said that it's a left side injury and that he probably throw his bullpen in 3 days, but this is how it started last year. Same thing, side injury, and they sat out until like June. He's out for like 3 months with it. deGrom cannot stay on the field, and this injury news already is starting to scare me. Like everyone said, when he's healthy, he's the second best pitcher in baseball, only behind the best pitcher in baseball, and that's Sandy Alcantara. Alcantara was the only pitcher in the major leagues that threw over 220 innings last year that didn't make the playoffs. And he's still, even with every team that made the playoffs, including the postseason, he had more innings pitched than everyone except Aaron Nola. The guy is an absolute innings monster. Pitches through the order 3 times, had a 2 ERA with 228 innings pitched with the Miami Marlins. That's absolutely absurd. He keeps getting better, and if he does it again this year, he's going to command the highest contract the pitcher's ever received as he hits the open market. So I have Sandy Alcantara as my number 1.
So number 1 for me is also Sandy Alcantara. Gene highlighted one of the things I was going to say. He's the only pitcher in the entire major leagues that threw the third time through a lineup, his batting average against actually went down. The kid reminds me of, honest to God, reminds me of Jacob deGrom 4 years ago. He just has absolutely electric stuff. He throws high velo, but his ball also moves like crazy. He has a fastball that'll ride in on righties, 98 plus. They'll think they're swinging middle plate. It'll hit the bat 2 inches above their thumbs and break their bats. He's a guy. He's a can't miss guy. I don't care if he's playing your team. If he's coming to your town, he's scheduled to pitch against you guys. Go watch him. He's that good. He has the ability every single night that he's on the mound to throw a no-hitter. That's how good he is right now. To Gene's point as well, he's young. He's just getting stronger. I think he'll have a better year than he did last year, if that's possible. He's got to get the hell out of Miami, which I think he's going to do, because people are going to line up around the block to sign this kid next year. So I think he goes out this year for Miami, shows out, and then deuces. He's going to go to a contender. Sure, he's going to end up in freaking New York or Dodgers or whatever, so I'll end up hating him. But the kid is great. He's absolutely great. I even, as a Phillies fan, I enjoy watching him pitch.
And it'll be a clean sweep for me as well, as I got Sandy #1 as well. I think the thing that's most impressive to me, Gene, you talked about his innings pitched. For him to pitch that much and his ERA is still as low as it is, and him to be top 5 in ERA, like it's just absolutely absurd. And obviously, all the quality starts that he has in Miami. We talked about it a lot last year. Gene, that was Gene's guy last year to win the Cy Young, but it's really unfathomable what's going on in Miami, what he does night in and night out, and they still find ways to lose games that he pitches in. And his numbers last year should have been even more absurd. But Sandy is absolutely incredible. I fully expect him to win another Cy Young this year.
So he lost 4 decisions last year where he lost the game either 2-1 or 1-0.
And he pitched all 9 innings.
Yeah. Like craziness.
Think of it this way, right? How much more motivated do you think a pitcher is when he's pitching for a pennant team? How much more motivated do you think a pitcher is when he's pitching for a team down the stretch?
No, yeah.
It's
honest to God, dude, I think he's another one you have to watch. I mean, I think with as loaded as the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves are, I don't think Miami can even possibly fathom being in that race late enough in the year. I think there's a shot he gets traded. I don't think they can think they have the bankroll to sign what his free agency worth is and still be able to build a team around him. They just don't have that type of budget down there. I think he gets traded. I mean, you could see an absolute insane haul for somebody to rent him for the right, to Gene's point. I think if you get a team that's on the border or wants to get over the top and you get your hands on somebody like him, it's hard not to part with the prospects and the guys to do it. Major League Baseball this year, the trade deadline could be very interesting. I mean, between Alcantara, Shohei, Corbin Burns, like you are going to see some big guys move this year. There's going to be teams they're going to come out of nowhere, or teams, like I said, that are on the fringe or trying to get over the hump that are going to get absolute bona fide superstars this year. This will be the first time in a while to be a very exciting trade deadline.
I want to get in the UFC, boys. We'll do the catchers list next week. The UFC card that just happened was a lot funner than I expected. You watch Yair Rodriguez beat Josh Emmett in the co-main event, and you even had people on the broadcast like, will Alex Volkanovski come back for Yair Rodriguez after this performance? And I got to give Josh Emmett credit. I got to give Yair credit. They both looked great. Josh got caught. Yair put him in a great submission. They both battled. Congrats to Yair Rodriguez for the win. Do you guys want to comment on that fight at all?
No, I mean, I'll jump on the back of it just a little bit. Like I thought Yair looked great. I think he looked better than I thought he was going to. I think his striking he looked clean. He was very crisp. I think he looked well prepared for the fight. And I agree with you. I think Josh, a tough dude. I think Josh stood in there, came back. Way better fight than I thought it was going to be. And, I mean, I don't want to, get into too much too soon here, but I mean, it's, I think Yair deserves his interim belt, and I think it'll be an interesting, unification bout. But I think he looked good. He looked a lot better than I thought he was going to.
I mean, I forgot who all did, but
I picked him to win.
Yeah, I picked Yair to win. So I was fully expecting him to come out and be impressive. I wasn't expecting it to be in that fashion, especially given the submission that happened. But Yair is one of those guys he's flashy, but everything he does has a purpose to it. And, the kicks that he was getting off, like I knew that was in his wheelhouse, but I mean, those kicks were insane. Like it was, a minute and a half into the fight, and it looked like he had already cracked one of Josh Emmett's ribs. So, Yair looked incredible to me, and I'm glad it happened. I always thought Yair had the potential to be a champion in that division, especially. And I think he cashed in on that opportunity. And like you said, Bill, I can't wait for the unification of it.
Okay, so I don't know what the unification is going to look like because the fight that we're about to get into, I don't know if there's going to be a unification. Alex Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev was everything that you could ever imagine that fight to be. Let me be clear when I say this. Islam Makhachev did everything he could to win that fight, and I would not be upset if you had him winning the fight. I had it 3-2 Volkanovski. I gave the second, third, and fifth to Volk. If you gave the second to Islam, I'm okay with it. It was close enough to where, and I always say this, if to beat the champion, you got to beat the champion. And in 155, the champion is Islam Makhachev. I hate giving your boy credit, Cottrell, reporter for UFC.
Ariel Helwani.
Ariel Helwani. I hate giving him credit because I'm not a big fan of his. But he nailed this. Like his breakdown of his fight, nailed it. He says, I think Islam won the match, and I think Alex won the fight. When Alex left that fight, I felt like Alex stood taller. I looked at those two fighters in the ring, and it looked like Islam. I watched so many people that watched that fight reactions. Joe Rogan, most notably, was like, this is definitely Volkanovski. It's got to be Volkanovski. I thought Volk clearly won the third and fifth. I don't think either round was that close. I think that Islam won the fourth, although there's something to be said about holding someone or laying on them and not doing anything with it. Whereas Volk was punching and landing a lot more from the bottom. I thought the first was close, but I think the takedown at the end gave the round to Islam. And I think the second was very close, and I gave it to Volkanovski. All in all, great fight. I developed tremendous respect for Volk. Volk had a great strategy of giving his back up, spreading his legs to prevent the takedown with a firm stance. It was a phenomenal fight. I would pay to watch that fight again. I don't care what 4 fights you surround it with. That was a fun fight to watch. The funniest part was when Islam took Volk down in like the 4th round, and he looks at his corner and goes, "Oh, I'm getting up." Like, I'm getting up. Like, it was comedy to me, and I thought it was really interesting how the fight played out. The 5th round ended with Volkanovski absolutely brutalizing Islam. It was the most decisive round of the fight, and I felt like if they went a 6th round, I felt like Volk would have continued dominating. I don't know how that man has the cardio that he does. Volkanovski always seems to continuously go. Like, he just never seems to get tired. I watched both fighters. The second time I watched a fight, I watched both fighters' reaction to the end of the fight. Islam looked dejected, like he thought he lost the fight. It could be because he just got brutalized in the 5th round. I understand that. But with that being said, Volk was such a class act at the end of that fight, yelling to all our Australian fans. He's like, this man is a great fighter. Like, do not boo him. Like, and handled himself with tremendous class. That being said, my number 1 pound per pound fighter in the world is 100% Alex Volkanovski. He moved up 10 pounds in weight class, and I think he won the fight. Cottrell, I think you see it differently, but I'd like to hear your reaction.
I do. So I texted you guys right when it happened, before the judges got brought into it. I had it 1, 2, and 4 for Islam. I did think the 3rd round was close. I gave it to Volk. I didn't think it was a lopsided round by any means. I did think Volk did enough to win it, but I thought it was somewhat close. I didn't think that would be the toss-up round. I thought 2 would be the toss-up round, and ultimately that's what it ended up being. What I will say, though, is 100% to be the champion, you got to beat the champion. I live by that adage as well. In this scenario, I think Volk literally did everything that he could to be a double champ, but I just slightly gave the edge in round 2 to Islam. With that said, I also have so much respect for what Volk did. You know, going up in the 10 pounds and not even just going up in weight. Like he looked physically significantly smaller than what Islam was. And Islam being the aggressive wrestler and having that sambo background, I thought that we would get a lot more Volk on the ground easy, and that wasn't the case. You can tell that in Volk's camp, he really worked on his takedown defense. And even if he got taken down, it wasn't the end of the world for him. Like, he got taken down and he still had a plan. And that's really what I expect most because, a guy like Islam, he's going to get takedowns on you. It's just unavoidable in certain circumstances, especially when he puts himself in that right position. But for Volk to be able to get up and to never really look worried or look like he was in trouble, even when Islam had his back in the fourth round, like that was very impressive to me. And Volk having not only the wherewithal to get up from those positions, but to be able to strike with Islam and hurt him. Like, it wasn't like he was just jabbing, getting in, getting out. Like, he was getting some significant strikes on Islam, and he put him down in that 5th round. So gotta give Volk all the credit in the world. But I did have Islam winning 1, 2, and 4. So I had it 48-47 when it was all said and done.
I think it's perfectly fine to have Islam winning 1, 2, and 4. Perfectly fine. I just overall stats on the fight has Volkanovski landing 80 more punches, 13 more significant strikes. However, Islam did have 4 takedowns to Volk's 0. So I understand that fight being looked at as close. Shally, how did you see it?
I think Volk won the fight. I don't know how the judge, whoever the judge was that scored the fight 49-46 should be fired. I don't get that at all. I don't know how you get that from watching that fight. I did 48-47 Volk. And to both your points, I think you both hit on everything I wanted to talk about. But we keep saying, at some point, I think we all agree on the adage that to beat the champ, you got to beat the champ. But I think he did that, and I think that was taken away from him. I don't think you have to. I don't think it necessarily means you have to go in the cage and knock somebody out for it to be definitive. Decisions are part of fighting, and I think if you go in there and do everything and you, in my opinion, definitively win 3 rounds, then that's enough. And I think he did enough to win, and I think he should be a 2-belt champ. I think Islam, honestly, I think Islam was caught a little off guard about. I don't think he thought that Volk was going to come in there with that game plan. I don't. But I like Gene. I had 2, 3, and 5 for Volk. I don't think 4. The scoring thing of you taking somebody down and laying on them for 4 minutes and doing no damage. I don't think when you press somebody to the cage, it should be an automatic win in that round. And I've had that. Not just with this fight, I've had that argument with UFC forever, and I think it's something they have to change.
Yeah.
I don't think a takedown should be an automatic win, and that's kind of still where we're at. So, I like Gene. I would pay for it again. I'd watch it again, and do whatever you want to do with it. It was fun to see Islam be pushed, and I'm not taking anything away from him. I mean, the dude stood in there, like you said, in the 5th round, took a beating, and kept coming. So it's that dude is everything he's advertised to be. I'm not going to say he's not. I just don't think he should be champ right now. I think Volk won that fight.
Listen, I don't want to argue about this because I can see Control's vantage point. I can understand it. I think it was close. I really do. But like when you watch that fight, and here's my only takeaway that I'll give you, Control, and my only rebuttal back. When you watch that fight after that fight, if you watch that street fight, who would you think won the fight?
If I watched a street fight of
you watched that fight on the street and let's just say instead of it being round by round scoring, it was cumulative scoring where they used the whole fight and just scored as a whole. But there's breaks in between.
If you were going that route, then I would say Volk won.
Okay. That's all I need
just
to hear.
Because especially because of how the 5th round ended. Like, that's going to be the last taste of your mouth of how it was. But if how the UFC does their scoring. Like I gave 3 rounds to Islam.
That's fair. And I'm good.
Did anybody, the 49-46 judge, did anybody look at that scorecard? So
Yeah,
what?
the
Yes.
third round.
One,
The third
one,
round.
2, 3, 5.
So that judge gave the
not
fifth
5.
round to
4.
Islam.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 5. Sorry.
All right, that's wild.
The third round, which I didn't think was that close, and I'm assuming you didn't think was that close because you're perplexed at the score. Cottrell actually thinks was a close round. So I don't think Cottrell wants the guy fired. He thinks that it could went to Islam. I don't think it was that close, but that's fair.
I don't think you could score a fight that was that close, 49-46. So I disagree with it. Even if you thought that Islam won that third round, there's no way I would have turned in a scorecard that said 49-46 for that fight because of how close it was. I understand that. But I'm just saying, like, that alone would have made me say, hey, this third round, I'm giving the Volk. I'm not going to score this. I can't score this fight 49-46. Like, I can't do that.
Okay. But you can see a clear path to him winning those 4 rounds.
Clear path? No.
My point being is you could see a judge giving him those 4 rounds.
I thought 3 was close, and I could see a judge, 1 out of 10 judges giving him that round. Okay. I guess in this instance, it was 1 out of 3.
But see, my counterpoint would be like, I think the third was more definitive than the fourth. I have an easier time giving Volk the fourth than giving Islam the third.
I think from a viewer's like standpoint, like, yes, like Volk was punching more, but just literally understanding like how the UFC values certain things, like they're not going to value Volk getting off, these strikes. Essentially, they were just strikes. They weren't significant strikes. So Volk wasn't scoring any major categories when Islam is getting this control time and he got the takedown from it. So I don't think there was a way for Volk to win the fourth, even though, Islam did nothing essentially on the ground.
Okay.
I just think it's going to be interesting to see how the UFC moves forward with these two, because I don't think we get a rematch with them right away. I don't think that happens because you're going to have, at that point, if you do that, you're going to have 2 divisions in limbo. You have Yair fighting, defending his interim belt, because what if Volk loses the second time against Islam? Like, you're not going to strip Volk of his title at 145.
Volk will vacate the 145 for a rematch.
See, I don't think Volk will do that. Like, I just don't, because then he's going to be losing out on money as well, because he's going to be not fighting as a champion. Like, there's so much that goes into that.
If he would have beat Islam, I agree with you. I think he would have vacated 145 if he beat Islam. He's not vacating now. He's going to go fight Yair, and then after that, I think Islam fights somebody else.
Who is Islam fighting?
You'll probably get Beneil Dariush or Gaethje or Poirier. Like, you'll get one of those for.
It's gonna be a big name. I don't know if it's gonna be a great fight, but it'll be a big name.
Okay.
I got Connor coming back fighting Chandler.
Yes,
that matters for the whole. Not that matters for like the championship picture, but if Connor wins a fight against Chandler, then you're gonna be throwing his name in that hat, although you don't deserve it. But again, money, all that.
I promise you,
Connor could be like, it's just gonna happen.
I agree with you. If Connor beats Chandler, especially if he beats him by TKO or something like that, that is your next fight. And I agree with you. Being a Connor guy, I don't think he deserves it, but with the whole backstory between, like you said, you nailed it right on the head with him and Khabib and everything else, that fight will sell a gazillion buys, and that's all Dana cares about. That's what you're going to get.
Well, we're just 2 weeks away from another card, so we will get into more UFC talk, and that'll be a good card beginning of March.
Card of the year in March. The car is loaded. That car is loaded.
I get it. I just think that we're, never mind. I won't do it. I
know you hate John Jones. I get it.
Johnny J, baby.
I hope Cyril Gahn takes his head off.
I think that's a way tougher fight for John Jones than people want to admit.
I agree. All right, so we got this mystery question that we're going to do each week. We'll all give a fun answer in the chat if you're listening. I'd like to hear your fun answer. But Cottrell, you can throw it up there. All right, so for $1 million on the line, who would you take? Patrick Mahomes' fourth touchdown in the fourth quarter, which we've seen like 3 of them, means any touchdown in the fourth quarter. Just a whole quarter. Tiger Woods, a 10-foot birdie on the 72nd hole. If you don't know, that's the last hole. LeBron James, 3-pointer in overtime. That's any 3-pointer throughout overtime. Lionel Messi, penalty kick in the 90th minute. I think this is easy, but I'll go last.
I don't like the way it's worded because I think if you look at Messi's and Tiger's, I think this is more meant to be designed like a game-winning drive from Mahomes and like LeBron to win the game type thing. That's how I took it. It wouldn't change my answer anyway. I'm sticking with what I'm sticking with, but I think that's kind of what it was meant to be, like game on the line type thing. Like, which one of these 4 would you take?
Okay. Game on the line. Which 4 would you take? We can make it that question.
Out of these options, I'm taking option 2. I'm going Tiger, 10-foot birdie, to win the 72nd hole. I've seen him do it 2 times in majors. He can do it. I think he is by far the most clutch player out of the 4 of these players. Obviously, all 4 of them are great. All 4 of them are going to the Hall of Fame. And, honestly, when Mahomes is all done, you could be looking at the best 4 in their sports ever. They're all in the conversation anyway. So we did LeBron and Michael last week. So, and Messi it's either Messi or Ronaldo. So, but that being said, I think Tiger is one of the most clutch, mentally tough athletes that has ever performed in any sport. 10 feet away, it's not even that long of a putt. I will take Tiger Woods in this all day, and feel good about my bet.
I will say Tiger's putt came down to my top 2, but ultimately I'm gonna go with my boy Lionel Messi, penalty kick, 90th minute. I think that is the easiest of them all here. I get 10 foot for Tiger, especially in his prime, absolutely nothing, even if, tournament was on the line. But with Messi, you're literally going up against someone who's literally just guessing. And I think Messi is so good that even if they guess the right direction, he could put the ball in a place where absolutely no one could touch it, no matter what. So give me Messi in this situation, and I'd be pretty confident in it as well.
You bet $1 million on 72%.
I would.
I would go Lionel Messi also. I think I don't know what his PK numbers are in the last 5 years. I don't know what they are in like big games. But I know what they were in the World Cup, and he didn't miss one. So Lionel Messi on the biggest stage in the World Cup was just unfathomed by the PK. Messi, it's Messi, and it's Messi. It's not that close. Tiger would be my second. I agree. I think that a 10-foot birdie putt or 10-foot putt, 10-foot birdie putt to end the Masters or whatever. You don't know what the conditions are. You don't know if it's like the cleanest green in the world, if it's a wet green, if it's a quick green, if it's sloped, if it's slanted. I don't want to take that chance. I know that Messi's going to kick a ball into the back of the net, and I'll take my $1 million.
Messi can hit a great shot, and the goalie guesses the right way. It don't matter. Tiger. I mean, you just mentioned Tiger. I mean, Tiger did it on a bad knee against Bob May. Hit a 20-foot birdie putt to win the U.S. Open on the 72nd hole. Did it against Rocco Mediate. U.S. Open, the fastest, toughest greens there are.
My thing is, Bill, you say 72%, but that's just all PKs in general. We don't know what it is with the game on the line or in the last 10 minutes. Like, let's check those numbers. Obviously, human nature, Messi's going to miss PK here and there, but I'm taking my chances I'm taking my chances with Messi.
Messi's at 77.7%.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, he'd be my second choice, but I wholeheartedly would feel way more comfortable on Tiger than I would on Messi. Just because, like I said, I think Messi can do everything right and still not win, and that is the tough part for me.
Understood.
Yeah, Bill, give us some funny car racing.
NASCAR, baby. A funny car. Opening weekend, 75th running of the Great American Race, Daytona 500. Is this weekend. A whole lot of people. Got some people moving teams this year. Gene's going to take a nap. Kind of looks like Dale after he made a right turn 4 that year.
Jesus.
An observation.
I didn't say that.
You talk about me. You talk about me.
Jesus.
Your Alex Smith will always be the worst thing ever said on the show.
That was the worst thing ever said on the show.
At least Alex Smith is still alive.
Yes.
Mine was in jest. Mine was a joke. Cottrell made a compelling argument how Alex Smith didn't deserve shit. There's like a complete big difference.
He won an award with bad stats because he broke his leg and almost got amputated. You talk about a guy that's dead.
Yeah, turned the wrong way. No. So I mean, I got my pick. I got two guys to finish in the top 10. I'm gonna go with Austin Dillon plus 3,000 to win the race. Great restrictor plate racer. You always got to stay out of the big one at Daytona. Like I always tell people, you don't got to tune in for the first 2.5 hours of the race. Just tune in around 5 o'clock when there's about 20 laps to go, and that's when everybody starts crashing and going nuts. So that's the best part of the race. If he can get it through there, I think he's got a decent shot to win, just as good as anybody else. My two, I don't want to say dark horses, but two guys to finish in the top 10. I'll go Kyle Busch at plus 110, and I'll go Bubba Wallace plus 120 because Bubba is a good restrictor plate racer. Kyle is with a new team this year, so he's got a lot to prove. So those are my three betting picks for the guys that hit me up this week, all week, bugging me about Daytona 500 stuff. That's what I'm going with for now.
I have the winners. I have the script. I would put money on Kyle Larson at plus 1,400. And then my long shot will be Martin Truex Jr. at plus 2,500.
So I don't have a long shot. I just got the winner for you. Me and Gene got different scripts. I think there was a typo on his because I got Kyle Busch at plus 1,400. So same name, Kyle plus 1,400, same thing. But mine said Kyle Busch, so I'm going with that one. And
I didn't read it that long. You could probably.
I'm hoping that sticks.
Kyle.
Bet on all the Kyles and you'll win money.
There you go.
Let's get into You Gotta Be Kidding Me. Start us off, Control.
So, what was my You Gotta Be Kidding Me? I had it right here.
You forgot it.
My You Gotta Be Kidding Me this week is my boy, and I hate doing this, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving again. My You Gotta Be Kidding Me this week. He just finds these ways to put himself in these predicaments that just absolutely don't need to happen. So of course, we know about him getting traded and all that. Upon his arrival to Dallas, he deleted his apology for, the things that he tweeted and things that people viewed as anti-Semitic and things like that. He deleted that. I disagree with that, whatever. So be it. You want to delete it, whatever. Fine. You shouldn't have done that because everyone forgot about it not forgot about it, but it was in the back of people's minds at that point. But you do that, draws more attention to yourself. You have another press conference. They ask you about your long-term plans about being in Dallas and how you feel like that's going to look. Instead of just answering it, truthfully, he kind of just dodged around the question and said, I don't want to be a distraction. I don't want to be a distraction to this team, so I'm not going to really talk about it. For me, it's the way that he answered that question. It sounded like he was basically saying, I don't know how long I'm really going to be here. but I don't want to say that I'm leaving after this year because I know that'll be a bad look for me. And then to top that off, he just posted another picture. I don't even know how to describe this picture, but he posted four sets of pictures, basically depicting, I'm assuming, what's the media. And it's just a bad look, Kyrie. Just be quiet, just play basketball. If they ask you those kinds of questions, just say, I haven't been here that long yet. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us, and just leave it at that, because that could mean just 1 year, that could mean 5 years, it could mean 10 years. But Kyrie Irving, you're just bringing all this unnecessary and unwanted attention to you, and Dallas essentially just took a chance on you. Like, I understand you're this top level talent, but just keep your head down, keep your nose clean, go out there and play basketball, and prove everybody who you don't like wrong. But for me, Kyrie Irving.
On, you gotta be kidding me.
Bill.
I really don't have one. I'm heartbroken over the Eagles. We already talked about the field a little bit. I was going to go into that. Tired of talking about Kyrie. Kyrie has to be atop the leaderboard for most. You got to be kidding me on this show.
100%.
It's either him, and I think Rob Manfred and Roger Goodell are probably a close second and third. But no.
And Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is up there too.
That's true. Gene's personal vendetta against Ben Simmons keeps him high on the leaderboard.
I have a really good one that I waited this whole show to share with you guys.
Do it.
So my you got to be kidding me is a combination of me and Fox.
This should be good.
So you guys don't know this yet, but I completely missed the coin toss, the national anthem, and the first touchdown drive for the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl with a room full of people watching the Super Bowl. How does that happen? Do you ask? Well, I will tell you. Well, I went on the Fox to put the Super Bowl on at 5:30. It says this is available in 4K. So I said, okay, I'll watch the Super Bowl in 4K. So it's got pregame coverage of the Super Bowl, the whole 9 yards. They have, the teams and this and that. And we're watching it, and it's 6:30 comes and goes. And I'm like, and it's like an hour to kickoff. What the hell's going on? I've never seen this. I've never seen the Super Bowl start this late. This doesn't make sense. And they're still warming up, and you can see the warm-ups, and they're live on the field. And I don't understand how this happens, right? So we're watching. So Mooney goes to me, who's at the house. He goes, well, maybe it's on a different channel. I'm like, no, Mooney, it's on Fox. Watch. I put on CBS. I'm like, oh, is it CBS? Nope. Is it NBC? Nope. And I circle back to Fox. It's on Fox. That's who had the Super Bowl this year. Except the Fox 4K edition was an hour behind the Fox regular edition. And I didn't find that out until we got a notification that it was 7-0 Philadelphia Eagles. It's 6:52, and I get a notification that the Eagles are up 7-0, and the entire house that's waiting for the Super Bowl, that's like, why is this game not started yet? We flip over to the game to see the kickoff from the Eagles up 7-0. So for that reason, myself and Fox.
On, you gotta be kidding me.
What's funny?
Yeah.
We literally had this. We had a conversation in the group, and I asked you. You said something, and I asked you. I was like, "Are you behind?" And you were like, "No, I just had my phone down." Were you like too embarrassed to tell me that you were on the wrong channel?
No. So I literally flipped it over. We missed the first drive, right? We didn't see the national anthem. I seen all of it obviously later. I rewatched the whole thing, but
right.
I flipped it over and I wasn't looking at my phone. So when I picked up my phone and I seen the messages and I seen Bill write, wow, I'm like, AJ Brown. Like I knew that's what he was talking about. But I watched that. I watched that play. I only missed the first drive.
Okay.
And the national anthem and the coin toss.
Gotcha.
Which I end up seeing later. But, man, I can't tell you how annoyed I was. And now, my question for you two would be, We'll wrap up right after this. Is that Fox's fault or is that my fault?
100% your fault. If I knew
Why?
the Super Bowl started at 6:30, like there's no stone that I would unturn if it's like 6:35 and they're still doing like pregame warm-ups, or there's no anthem, there's no the game starting soon. Like there's no
I'm
way.
thinking because it's on West Coast, like that might be an hour behind. Like I don't
Absolutely not.
And I'm like sitting there and I'm going nuts. I'm like, I've never seen this. And I said it multiple times. Like, I don't know. You go on Fox's regular programming, and in the corner it says this is available in 4K. So you just hit OK and it takes you to 4K. Why in the world would it be delayed an hour? Why?
I mean, I'm with you on that.
I don't think there's any way you could have known that. I tend to agree with Cottrell in this aspect. Like, the Super Bowl never starts on time, like ever. Like, it never really, it's always like 4 or 5 minutes behind. It never kicks when it's supposed to. So if it was like 6:33 kick, that's like Cottrell said, though, at some point by like 6:40, if I haven't seen the national anthem or something like that, I'd be like, all right, like, what the hell's going on? Like, we're way behind. I would have started mashing some buttons at that point. Like, I would have had to figure something out. Like, I'm not giving them till like 6:45. Like, there's no way it's starting that late.
I was so floored. I couldn't believe it. I was embarrassed. I had people over to watch the Super Bowl, and I was just like, I don't know what to say. Like, what do you say at that point? I felt embarrassed.
Hey guys, that's on me. That's on me.
But I don't
gotta
think
own
it's
it.
on me. I
You
think
gotta
it's on Fox.
no. You gotta own it and move on. Even if you don't think it's on you, you gotta own it and move on. Just let it. It didn't happen at that point.
Gene was MF and Fox up and down all over that house when I was going there.
Why do you think I have no voice? I'll never vote another Republican again in my life.
I just say that's what it's all damn. It's Donald Trump's fault. F Fox. Tucker Carlson's a jerk. F him.
Screw Greg Olson.
Yeah.
Terrible tight end.
Talk about he wasn't a terrible tight end.
I'm just saying that's what Gene was spewing.
No, I didn't have none against Greg Olson. I
don't
understand why they'd have the button there that says this is available in 4K, and it's got Super Bowl coverage, and it says Super Bowl coverage, and it says the game on there. And I'm like viewing with the guide. I'm like, why? Like, why do I have 4K if I can't watch the program in 4K? I just don't understand. By the way, sidebar. The Rihanna halftime performance is even better.
I knew you were about to get into that.
But
I hope so, because it wasn't that good in 1080p.
Crazy. That was one of the best halftime performances I've ever seen in my life.
No, Katie,
banger after banger.
Katie Wiley said it best. She glad the halftime show happened because it put her kid to bed.
I didn't see that.
Jesus.
Yep, and I loved it. She said it best. She played great songs. Good. The performance itself, dud. She lip sank for 85% of it. There was no real performance. She was just standing there on these high risers. And I get it. She's pregnant, congrats to her and all that. Like, I don't want to hate on that. But if you knew she was going to be immobile,
if I had a gripe with it when I rewatched it back was when we were watching it live, I thought she was really singing. And then when I watched it back, you could tell she wasn't. That would be my big thing with her, because I stick her more in the category of like a Pink or somebody like that who like actually has a great voice and can sing. She didn't have to lip sync. So that part of it to me was disappointing. Because I don't think she's like a Britney Spears or something like that who is going to lip sync and dance around and put on a show. Like, I think she's a better actual singer and performer. Like I said, I put her in a different category. So the fact that she wasn't singing the whole time, that was disappointing to me.
7 months pregnant. You guys are harsh critics.
Again, if you throw that asterisk,
I didn't say it sucked though. I thought it was fine.
But if I have to throw that asterisk on it to make it be okay, then that tells you everything you need to know.
The asterisk,
if she wasn't pregnant, that would have been a horrible show.
No, it wasn't. Guys, we're wrapping up. We're not taking this Rihanna infamy. Any final thoughts?
Where do you rank it all time though?
Number 2.
Oh, behind you.
Eminem.
Oh, Jesus, this show's over.
Eminem wasn't even the best performer at his own show.
You're lying.
I'll give her top 10. She's not. That is not number 2.
Number 2.
I will say this though, Chris Stapleton needs to get more love, dude. That was
Yeah, he did.
in my opinion, that's number 2 for me behind the obvious number 1. That's the best. Yeah, I mean Whitney.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
I don't know, bro.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you never know. You got people like Gene throwing Rihanna's crap second overall halftime show. So yeah, you never know. You got to ask now. So I get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Trump closing on savage notes.
Give us a download on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Help us continue our record month on Libsyn.
Number 2. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's not. Thank you so much for
Bro,
tuning
Prince? In. Jesus Christ. Like,
Wire Sports Podcast.
Number 2.
We are signing out.